school directors. This is a meeting of the board taking place in the public in accordance with the sunshine. District residents who wish to address the board are required to sign up to provide public comment at least 5 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Public participation will occur only during the designated public comment portion of the agenda. Disruptions, interruptions, outbursts, or other disorderly conduct of any kind will not be tolerated. By attending and or commenting publicly in this meeting, you are consenting to the district's recording, retention, and future viewing of this meeting. This meeting is also being live streamed as a convenience to the public. In the event the live stream fails or cannot be transmitted for any reason, the in-person meeting will continue without interruption. Mr. Shoemaker, would you please call the roll?
Mary Brenneman.
Here.
Allie McCall.
Here.
Nick Lovell.
Here.
Jeannie Ewan.
Here.
Janelle Ressler.
Here.
Dwayne Sullivan.
Here.
Stephen Yerger.
Here.
Don Bayless.
Here.
Danielle Brenneman.
Here. Please stand for pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, board acknowledgements and announcements.
I just want to say what a great banquet it was on Friday evening, celebrating our FFA students. Very a lot of talent.
And the FBLA,
No, go ahead.
the FBLA award program was very nice, especially the 12-minute video. It was really nice to see everything they did.
Anyone else? All right. We have our student representative reports. Tonight we only have our high school report with Mr. Bell.
Hello. Yeah, I only have a few things tonight. In FBLA news, last Wednesday we inducted our new officer team and celebrated our successes for the year. The new officer team will meet this summer to plan for next year. We are also excited for our 4 competitors attending the National Leadership Conference this June in San Antonio, Texas. The FFA banquet was held on Friday, May 15th. Numerous awards were handed out. The Envirothon team will travel to the state competition on Wednesday to represent Adams County. The competition is held in Milfenburg, PA. The State FFA convention will be held in June at State College. 13 FFA members are signed up to compete. And that's all.
Anyone have any questions for Rebecca?
Do you have an update on the girls softball game?
No, I don't.
Not yet.
No.
It started at 4:30.
Yeah, no.
They were up 2-1 when I left to come here.
Up 2-1.
Great.
And Rebecca, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is going to be your last report with us, correct?
Yes, it is.
So I just want to, on behalf of the entire board, thank you for the job you've done throughout the school year. And you've done a wonderful job keeping us updated as to what's going on up in high school and all of the student activities. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best of luck.
Thank
moving
you.
forward as another alumni. Let's give a round of applause for that.
Thank you.
All right, moving to our building principal updates. Dr. Becker, high school.
So as we move towards our conclusion of another successful year up at the high school, there are several accomplishments and some things that have been taking place, and going to echo some of the things I've already spoken about. But first, I'd like to recognize the staff, the students, basically everybody involved, as we were able to complete our, at least scheduled, Keystone exams and AP exams. There are some late exams for AP, there are some makeups for Keystones, but we appreciate the hard work and dedication of everybody involved. Students focusing, taking their time, doing a real nice job on the tests for almost the entirety. Extracurricularly, we had our music spring concert took place recently, and we have the Pops concert that takes place tomorrow, which is a great showcase of the talent again tomorrow for the music department. Mentioned already was the FBLA installation event, which was a fun event for the students. Nice 12-minute video, and you can see Mr. Stahl was unwilling to cut any of it because there were so many fun pictures and things going on. FFA banquet that took place that Mrs. Ressler talked about was a fantastic banquet. Another successful year for the program. That's ongoing. Looking ahead, we have also our academic awards ceremony, which we mostly are celebrating our seniors. That takes place on Wednesday at 6:30. And we're going to recognize a lot of academic, among other achievements. You'll hear a lot of scholarships. I don't know the total number, but from what the counseling team was relaying to me, there's a large number of scholarships and money that's going to be handed to some of our seniors for their future educational endeavors. And then the most obvious, as we prepare and we're well underway for our commencement ceremony preparation, which we held on Thursday, May 28th. If everybody here can just go home and do their no rain dance for me for next week. It's always a little more stressful when we have rain. Don't look at the forecast next week. It's really a meaningful celebration. It's my favorite day of the year. Stressful to get there and the things that are there, but absolutely my favorite thing that we do each year, and we're looking forward to next week for the seniors. That is all I have.
Any questions for Dr. Becker?
Do we know how many are graduating?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. No. And again, this week is senior final, so it's not over yet. So hopefully everybody gets through what they need to.
Anyone else?
Dr. Becker, are you predicting the best scores in the county again on the Keystones like last year?
Yeah, why not?
Good answer.
That's the goal. Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Becker. Mrs. Holt?
Good evening, everyone. Much like Dr. Becker, I am very pleased to report that our PSSA and Keystone testing has concluded. PSSAs occur a little bit earlier in the month than Keystone testing. But the thing that I'm most pleased about is, when the students are taking the assessment and the teachers are walking around to proctor and monitor, they're able to get a sense of the students' approach to the test. And you can just tell by looking at kids if they're giving their effort and showing perseverance and approaching it with excellence. And our teachers did report that they got that feeling, it wasn't just kids click and see all the way through or kind of just finishing 5 minutes and putting their heads down, but really using the time they were given and demonstrating there that they were willing to show what they know, which we were very pleased with. After that was our iReady diagnostic. We're in the middle of that right now. We have the cow ice cream truck coming next week to reward all of the students who met their stretch growth goals for the year for the iReady diagnostic. So hopefully there we have a little bit of incentive to overcome that testing fatigue that students maybe feel this time of year to again help them to show their best efforts on that diagnostic. This week we have the PA Ag Lab parked in the back of Maple Avenue. If you're not familiar, it's a big trailer-style mobile classroom that comes. And huge thank you to the Thunderbolt Foundation. This is the second year that they have bought this for us, and they will again next year, which we're very appreciative of. The 6th grade science classes will go, and they're studying the science of chocolate. The 7th grade science classes are looking into the DNA of a banana. And 8th grade classes are doing a water analysis. So each teacher will, over the course of the week, take each of their class periods out to that mobile lab. And it's a great experience for the students, the teachers, everybody. And so we're very blessed to be able to do that year over year, thanks to the Thunderbolt Foundation. Today was our 8th grade farewell activities. So our 8th graders had a very full and fun and day, but it was a wonderful time, and as always, our students rise to the occasion. It always gives me just a moment of hesitation when you give 130 8th graders free reign to just hang out and do, but they always rise to the occasion, and we never have to speak with any student for misbehaviors. They just take the opportunity to have the freedom and have the fun and engage in the fun stuff, and so we're always so very pleased with them for that. And that was put on by Mrs. Lawson with our student council and a handful of parent volunteers. Coming up next week, we have our final PBIS reward. It's our big end-of-the-year carnival. Every year since we've started the carnival, it has rained. We've always had the carnival. It's just always been in the rain. So much like Dr. Becker is asking for good well wishes for good weather, our PBS carnival And again, lots of supplies and donations from our parents and our community for that event. And then we have our awards ceremony, the final week of school. 6th grade has one ceremony, and then 7th and 8th combined in a second ceremony. And one thing we're very pleased about in that is that we no longer only recognize, you were the top scorer in math, or you were the top scorer in ELA, because oftentimes that happens to be the same very small groups of students getting awards over and over again. And while that is lovely, our teachers really have expanded what they look for and what they give students awards for. So sometimes it could be about growth, or sometimes it could be about character. And so we're able to recognize a lot of various students during that ceremony. So that's always a good time. And then we'll be at graduation in the sunshine. And that's the end.
Any questions for Mrs. Gold?
8th grade used to paint the ceiling tiles.
Yeah.
Do they still do that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And they all sign it just like always. That'll go in our hallways in the new building.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Gold.
What is that?
5-2 wins.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was that?
5-2 wins, so they won. So we're softball.
I thought you were saying they were. I was like, what's going on?
So I was wondering, I apologize. Got excited when I found out the softball team won. And then the other part, I gotta figure out how we can do a rain dance over to prevent the rain from coming over.
Yeah.
So the rain dance. Sundance, there you go, Sundance, that's right. So, with that being said, I just want to present and share some things about Alloway Creek. Obviously, I echo many of the things that my two colleagues have shared. Just want to start with, we just recently had our kindergarten preview night. That was last week on Thursday, so that was a very exciting event. We had about 70 students and their families show up and attended. The night sort of consisted of 2 sessions where the kindergarten team took parents to the boardroom here and shared some of the expectations, suggestions for helping getting your child ready for kindergarten. That went really well. The students then were taking, of course we split them at the beginning, the students then were taking back to the classrooms where our teachers worked with them a little bit on, there was a reading of a story, there was a modeling of classroom expectations, and sort of some observations that were taking place of students as they work through a little bit of a craft activity. So again, just trying to get a little feel for who those students are, what they're capable of doing, and sort of just have our first chance at engaging and interacting with them. In addition, part of what also made that night special was, again, a shout out to Regina Biddle and her team. Regina's one of our first grade teachers, who's been sort of spearheading and leading their hallway decorations. And if you haven't had a chance to go over there and see that, I would highly encourage you to do that this week, because they are going to be taking those things down as we go through Memorial Day weekend. So if you haven't had a chance to see that, I really do encourage you to go over. But as far as that night goes, again, with our incoming kindergarten kids, the students loved it. Families could not believe the effort that was put in by our staff to make it such a special place. So again, a shout out to people involved with that. The parents continuously all night make positive comments about that as they ventured through a scavenger hunt. So that was part of one of the activities is each kid, each family sort of got a scavenger hunt where they had to explore and go through the building. Some of the obvious things that you would think of found in the library, the specials room, the museum, art, that type of stuff, where's the nurse's office. So some of those things, but it also went on to incorporate with some of our theme, listening to animals in the Congo. So kids had to find and locate that with their families and participate with that. Finding some QR codes that had some special information that was located there as well. Finding some information associated with the food chain. So again, just trying to engage and get those families and students connected to what their child will experience as they come into kindergarten. So that was a really fabulous night. Just a little bit more on that decorating theme. Sort of a rainforest adventure is what the team has pushed out and is connected. Really, the purpose of that project was really to transform the hallways into an engaging, colorful rainforest themed environment that supports early childhood learning creativity, and school-wide visual appeal. Decorations create a welcoming atmosphere while reinforcing curiosity about nature, animals, and ecosystems tied to our academic standards. So again, we took something that had a very positive visual feel, but we connected it to our learning that's taking place every day within our building. So again, a shout out to the team for that. Very proud of what they did. Real short statement about our ELA committee. I believe and feel very confident we're ready to bring a recommendation to the school board for our next ELA resource that we continue to be talking about. So that's going to come here in June. We'll start with our curriculum committee and then we'll work through the progression of that. So Dr. Brady and myself and a host of teachers will be here to begin to facilitate that with you here over the next couple of weeks as we head into June. Students, staff, and families are busy. Many different events of May. We've heard that echoed by my colleagues. Whether it was our spring chorus and band concerts that were just held, again, it was a packed cafeteria there, where multi-purpose room. The kids did a phenomenal job. Ms. Green, Mr. Bish, Mr. Ball. Shout out to them for their efforts. We just recently completed our field day experience, where the kids had an opportunity to engage in some activities that was set up through some volunteers as well as our staff. And if you've ever seen, elementary kids do tug of war, it's phenomenal. And just happened the one time that I was over to one event, the girls really put it on the voice pretty good. And I didn't realize when I made a little shout out on the announcements, it turned out that happened several times throughout the day. So the girls were really excited about hearing me compliment their efforts for them. So again, just exciting stuff is happening there. Our third graders are going to be going over to Mudd College. That's been one of our annual tradition things. That's a unique experience just in itself to give those kids an opportunity of sort of that one room schoolhouse feel, how academically they take on different roles and responsibilities. So again, excited for that to occur again. And then finally, just fifth grade farewells coming up here at the end of May. I believe the 26th is the correct date for that. And this is just to name a few things. There's an enormous amount of things that are going on over there. The final thing I'll just share, just want to sort of echo a little bit of what, again, Nate and Courtney said. We have finished our PSSA exams. Really was happy overall. Our participation was excellent. In grades 3, 4, and 5, we only had 3 students not participating in the exam. One of them was for a religious exemption, so for that one was a refusal, student parent for a take test, and then one was for an extended absence. So from that standpoint, that's super good, very positive, and our kids overall, it's significant that our kids overall did participate. So we feel strongly that our students and staff did put their best foot forward. We really like the effort we saw throughout the school year in preparation of the exams, and believe that that's going to make a difference as we continue to move forward in the building. So with that being said, that concludes my
Any questions for Mr. Moran?
Still do the senior grade for you.
So there's a lot, and I apologize. Yeah, that's definitely been something because Nate and I have been working on that. So we're set up again for our graduating seniors to come down to the elementary school there. And Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's on Wednesday or Thursday of next week. The seniors coming down for the elementary walk. Wednesday. Yeah. So we'll do that as around 10:30. Again, depending on how practice goes, and obviously that's a phenomenal experience for our younger kids, the same as it is for our older kids. So again, thank you for that is definitely one of the positives. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right. On the agenda, we have the budget report next. However, because of the fact that the board likely will ask questions and deliberate, we should, in my opinion, we should public comment prior to, so that the public has the opportunity to talk about everything we're going to deliberate prior to students. So, district to the topic of discussion for the record. Public comment is limited to matters of district business only. Comments that are not relevant to district business is or may be before the board will be suspended. All statements shall be directed to the board as a whole, not to individual board members or administrators. In comments will be limited to 5 minutes or less. Privilege to speak may be interrupted, revoked, or recess of a meeting may be called by the chair. If the speaker fails to adhere to board policy, the board does not observe reasonable form of written comment. Thank you. The one caveat to that, per policy 903, if there are more than 9 attendees sign up to address the board, each shall be limited to an equal portion of 45 minutes. There are 10 speakers signed up tonight, so each speaker will be given 4.5 minutes to address the board. Our first speaker is Penny Lawyer.
Sorry. You're fine.
Hi, my name is Penny Lawyer. I'm a resident of Littlestown, and I'm here to speak about the Gettysburg Lacrosse Co-op. I really want the board to consider this co-op with Gettysburg. I really enjoy playing lacrosse, and I would love to be able to play in high school and while staying active and meeting new people. I think it is a great opportunity to open the possibilities of playing in college. I was talking to the previous athletic director and the Gettysburg coach in an effort to finally have this co-op brought to the board. Now that we are finally here, I have been told the board is not considering this opportunity. If you do not reconsider, you are saying no to all of the athletes who would like to play lacrosse. If the board says yes, we are committed to doing all we can to help cover the cost. For example, we could do fundraisers like a car wash, a sub sale, and dine out with local restaurants. Please reconsider this opportunity and vote yes to the Gettysburg Lacrosse Co-op. Thank you.
Emily Wagner.
Emily and everyone else that's speaking, some of us up here are getting a little older. So we're getting to speak up a little bit. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Emily Wagner. I'm a high school student at Littlestown Area School District. Imagine walking into Littlestown and seeing students excited because they get to be a part of something new. That is exactly what would happen if Littlestown would co-op with Gettysburg Lacrosse. Lacrosse is one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. Schools all around us have added lacrosse teams because of the opportunity it gives students. By not offering lacrosse, we are missing out on something that could benefit so many people in our school. I'm not able to play club lacrosse, and playing in high school could be my only opportunity to play. Please consider this great opportunity to co-op with Gettysburg Lacrosse. Thank you.
Sarah Lawyer.
My name is Sarah Lawyer. I am a resident in the district, and I'm also, as you probably guessed, speaking about lacrosse. I know last week I said that I don't like public speaking, but I'm back again, or 2 weeks ago, or however long it's been, because it's very important to the athletes at Littlestown. As you can see, a lot of them have come tonight because they would like you to consider this. We have been working towards it for years. I realize this is something the board may not have known, but the previous AD and the Gettysburg coach have been working on trying to get this established for a long time. We finally got an agreement from their AD. If you guys vote no to the co-op now, it may not ever happen again. So I would like you to consider that you agree to the co-op with the caveat that families have to pay for the first year so that we have time to appropriately budget for this in the future to make it more affordable for families. But if you say no, that's it. None of our kids who are here who want to play have the opportunity. There will be no other option. We know that it's not going to be a team that is added here at Littlestown, and a co-op is a sustainable, affordable way to offer this for our kids. So I would really urge the board to reconsider the lasting impact of saying no to the co-op when we could brainstorm other ways to move forward without the financial cost in the budget this year. Thank you.
Todd Bell.
All right, my name is Todd Bell. I was here for the last board meeting where lacrosse was presented, but I do want to cover two other things. I am a district, I live here, I pay taxes, do all the things. One is the upcoming budget and one of the proposals that I saw for the fire alarm testing inspect. That is literally the world that I live in. I urge the board to seek out cooperative purchasing agreements. Source Law is a very good opportunity to save money on that for their already negotiated contract. You get best pricing. I don't know if that particular company participates in that. The system in this building is a Johnson Controls Simplex fire alarm system, and the one that you just replaced was also, but now it is a Siemens system. They require programming by the manufacturer. So our systems cannot program them. So if anything breaks or busted, you got to pay somebody else to come in and fix it, and then you also have to pay them to retest it. So that's my piece on that. I also am going to speak about the lacrosse program. I actually personally spoke to the head lacrosse of the boys program today. Some of the costs presented were about equipment and uniforms and things of that nature. After speaking to the head coach today, he mentioned that the boys need to show up with sticks and cleats and they're ready to play. So that is kind of a non-issue for startup costs for our district. It would just be around transportation, and he said that he would be willing to work with us, his AD, and their transportation, try to facilitate some back and forth to help offset some of the costs because he's looking for players. He's driving middle school in his area. They're starting a youth program for the Mid-Penn Youth Lacrosse Association to drive that, as well as there's a ladies program in that association as well, so they can boost their numbers and continue to feed their program. And being a coach, board member of the New Oxford Youth Lacrosse League, my hope and goal was to go to New Oxford, but this opportunity presented itself, and I am jumping on this bandwagon with every pound I have. So when they talk about fundraising and things like that, I'll be the first one to donate personally to get this up and running, because I have not only a son that plays, he plays in a club team where I also assistant coach there. So I know what lacrosse does. It is a community larger than life. 2028, the Summer Olympics, you're going to see a large influx of people wanting to play lacrosse. You know why? Lacrosse is in the 2028 Olympics, and you're going to see kids wanting to play it. We've got brand new homes over here. You've already included those in your budget numbers for potential property tax insertion. Well, guess what? If they're coming from Maryland, they're going to want a program to play lacrosse in, and this is the one they're going to skip right over and go to the next one. I already know kids that have moved out of this school district, not playing lacrosse anymore because it's not offered here, and they are some of the best lacrosse players I've seen pick up a stick, and within one season, one of my starters. So I can tell you that some of these kids' hearts are behind the sport, and I think it is a perfect opportunity to open it up to the community to help fund this sport. Albeit, home first, right? The girls' program for wrestling. It's a great opportunity, but guess who also has a girls' program for wrestling? We open up this co-op at Gettysburg. They have a program from 7th to varsity at Gettysburg. We can't establish it here, and there's no timeline for establishing of either of these. Why don't we try to put together a joint opportunity for these girls to be able to go wrestle? You know, why take away from the few when it would help the many, right? So if we can't do it here and we're not willing to fund it, or can't find the funding, why don't we just go ahead and try to make sure that we have an avenue for these athletes to go participate? I think that's all I had. There's a lot of notes here. I'm not nearly as prepared as these ladies that are still in high school. I got a little notes about testing. The last part. After speaking to the high school coach, if we wanted some sort of additional criteria or anything like that, and I'm sure Ms. Lawyer would probably raise her hand as well, there wanted to be some sort of district liaison for Littlestown students. I told Tyler that I would raise my hand to be the volunteer that stands on the sideline. I've got my certifications through USA Lacrosse. I'm silver certified. Been coaching for a decade or more. So I'd be willing to bridge that gap to ensure that the Littlestown athletes get the best out of the program. So I'm sure there's other hands that would be raised. Are there any questions for me? Sorry.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Casey Dell.
creating a Littlestown girls wrestling team. If the school budget won't allow financial support, so be it. Support us with our school's name. Budget support can come later. This first year can be a building year. Help from parents, donors, and fundraising will be how this team can grow momentum. This will be no different from how elementary wrestling programs fund themselves. Parents drive the kids to and from. They would even buy the gear needed. We don't have to be a duels team. We can be considered weekend warriors and only enter weekend tournaments. PIAA gives the girls teams their own 22 competition points to use, different from the boys' points. And an all-girls wrestling team will not count towards or against the boys' team's conference rankings. We have Mr. Mike Anderson willing to coach for free this first year. So let us use a mat, put us in a corner of the school, and give us a name. I promise we will not let you down.
Hayden Lawyer.
Hello, my name is Hayden Moore. I'm a resident of the Littlestown School Area District. I'm here to speak about Growth Across. I would like the board to reconsider the co-op with Gettysburg School District because I play lacrosse and I would like this opportunity to have in high school and have a high school career. I want to play lacrosse in college, and this will allow me to continue to grow my skills and build a resume. I have been working with the Littlestown AD for more than a year and the Gettysburg coach. I've even attended clinics and practice to build the relationship. The Gettysburg lacrosse coach is my club coach, and I know that she is looking forward to the opportunity to welcome Littlestown athletes into the program and teach them the love for the game. I'm worried that if the board says no to this co-op, we will never have this opportunity again. I know that there is an expense associated with this, but in a $40 million budget, this is a small expense. If the board agrees to co-op with me, maybe players can help to fund their playing, but if the board says no, we lose this opportunity forever. And all my teammates here are not speaking, but they are here to support, and that shows how important this is to all of us. Thank you.
Rachel Hutchison.
May I ask a question real quick first before I start my official time? Please. Since we are running well under our 45 minutes, is it possible that I could use the 5? Please. I wasn't prepared to cut it.
You'd have to make a motion. Tell me if you make a motion.
Can I make a motion? I make a motion that you give me 30 more seconds. I mean, how many more people do you have left? And do you have enough time within the 45 minutes to give that back to everyone else that would want to speak?
Well, I just asked the board unanimously consent to allowing that from the policy.
Did the girls have to shorten their speeches? Did the girls and Mrs. Ware?
Did anyone need to shorten what they were saying?
At all?
Nobody went anywhere near that time. So, unless I hear an objection from the board, I'm going to grant that.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate that.
To do the standard 5 minutes.
Okay. Let's see. I left my phone in the car, so we do this. So my name is Rachel Hutchison. I'm a parent, resident, and community member of the Littlestown Area School District. The first thing I'm going to do, and you gave me the time to do it, I want to start by acknowledging 2 budget recommendations I wholeheartedly support. That's replacing the high pit jump pit as a genuine safety hazard and pushing out the uniform replacement cycle. They're reasonable, responsible decisions. I commend them. I also want to speak directly about the in-town bus route. Asking a bus driver to manage students sitting 3 to a seat up to 1 hour when they live within a few miles of this school is absurd. It's a safety risk, and I urge this board to reconsider it, and I understand it's possible to keep that in the budget. Now the budget. Last year, this board approved a budget, and I know there has been some change. We have 1 new member. This board approved a budget with an almost $3 million deficit and a $0 tax increase, hoping that the surplus would close the gap. This year, we're now facing a $2.3 to $2.4 million deficit, and the Finance Committee yet again is recommending another 0% increase. Plus, a possible $1 million transfer from our capital fund, reducing that capital fund by 30%. That would help us to maintain our minimum balance levels where required. This is not a solution, it is a compounding crisis, and these girls are facing it. Because you wouldn't have to be in this kind of a budget situation if you had raised taxes last year. Districts across Pennsylvania are already facing devastating cuts due to the funding crisis in this state, and we need to act now before it's our turn. I also need to address some of the conversation that I've heard before and I specifically heard in the most recent finance meeting, which I listened to and watched online. I get really frustrated when I listen to the questioning process that this board, certain members of this board, do when it comes to special education costs. There is no how do we best serve our students. Now, and this is a quote, these expenses are pretty expensive. And there's cash having to be paid here. Board members questioning why all IEP meetings can't just be completed by June 1st. I'll answer that directly, because not all students' needs are identified by June 1st. They do not run by fiscal year. I am the parent of 3 neurodivergent children, and the thing that you need when you are going through that is the support of your school, the administration, and your teachers. And I would expect the board to do that as well. Your own code of conduct, if you read it, hasn't been updated since I believe 2018, requires that the board maintain legislative awareness and advocate for public education. So to ask directly, what do you say about the $2.6 million that leave this district every year? That's the number Dr. Moyer provided in her article back in the fall for cyber charter schools. $2.6 million. We worry about a tax increase that will hit some people with $30 this year, but $2.6 million is going somewhere else. We need to demand action in Harrisburg to fix this problem. Pennsylvania ranks 42 out of 50 states in state education funding, and our courts have ruled our system unconstitutional. But I don't hear this board ever discuss it. I've brought it up before, and I was told, well, somebody's got to pay the taxes. But the thing is that we can't build a reasonable budget on maybes, on possible fixes and possible increases. Last year, we waited 5 months to get in a state-approved budget. The research here is not ambiguous. Money matters. Studies show an additional $1,000 per student will raise test scores and boost graduation rates by up to 4 percentage points. Our schools have run flat to budget for years. There's nothing left to cut out. Inflation alone is at such a pace that there's no way you can continue to stay flat. I'm not being unreasonable here. I really am not. I pay the taxes too. I've lived here for 25 years. I believe the majority of people in this community understand that investing in our schools is investing in all of our futures. If I were sitting on this board today, I did run for board, I would recommend a 3% tax increase. I recognize that this board may not be there. I do get that. I understand. Compromise and collaboration. What about 2%? What about 1.5%? How many years do we go backfilling these dollars? Make the hard decision. These students are counting on you. Thank you.
Bill Reeves.
Try not to take up too much time. I'm Bill Reeves. I live up here at 140 New York Street. It's just a stone's throw away, or I might say a foul ball away. I'm here tonight to see if the school board is willing to accept the liability that comes off your base. I understand that some of the board members don't think that you should be liable for those balls. I've had awful lot of broken things at my house. My mother lived there prior to me. I'd say it's thousands of dollars already. I have done a lot of phone calls with one of the ex-superintendents, Mr. Bigger, and finally in 2021, I sent him a letter asking about this. I've got quite a few correspondence here. I'm not going to read them all to you. Matter of fact, I'd rather not read any of them to you. if you want to make copies of them. And the board can sit down and consider this then. But I did at one time get an attorney on this, and he told me that definitely there is a liability from the school district. Now, without me going into any more of this, would you be willing to make copies of this? I'm not going to leave it here. It's the only ones I have. We make copies of it and consider them, or reconsider what you're talking about as far as liability is concerned. Not only on our property, but people traveling up and down Newer Street. Foul ball hits the windshield, person loses control, kids riding up and down the street in bikes, people out in the front yards. It'd be a terrible liability there. I certainly hope it never happens, but it certainly could. I've talked to quite a few people on the school board over the years. Been in town here for 87 of my 90 years, and this started 20-some years ago, and haven't gotten anything done yet. So what I'm asking you is, you want to make copies of this?
We can do that.
All right. And then there'll be some consideration done off of this?
Unfortunately, Mr. Riddick, we can't do like a Q&A for public comment, but the athletic projects have been in consideration for the board for some time, and the board is currently exploring avenues to address the baseball.
I can't hear you, Mr. Noble.
We're currently looking at options for the baseball.
You still want to make copies of this?
If you'd like, we can scan it in and forward it to members of the board.
I hope you can, because I'm not going to leave them here. You're going to want to have. Good. By the way, I just put a new roof on that house. I hope I don't get any big holes in that or dents in it from, as you're seeing here, from baseball. Thank you very much.
We will encourage the teams to hit less foul balls.
Pardon me?
We'll try to hit less foul balls that way.
I certainly hope so. Who's going to make copies?
Can you hand it to Mr. Shirley?
Thank you.
Bradley Kiefer.
Good evening, my name is Brad Kiefer, and I'm a resident parent taxpayer in the district. I want to start with what happened at the last meeting because it matters before any vote tonight. 6 weeks ago, the Sports Finance Committee presented a $3.44 million structural deficit. Every scenario they modeled left this district well below its own reserve policy. The message was clear: this is a serious problem. Then a private meeting took place. The business manager, superintendent, and 2 of the 4 finance committee members met without the other 2 present. No agenda, no public notice, no minutes shared with the full board. It was one of the cagiest responses that I've seen in a public forum in the last couple of years. When the committee reconvened, the recommendation had completely reversed. We went from critical deficit requiring action to 0%'s good. 2 members walked in with information, 2 were blindsided, the public was told nothing. That's not how transparent public bodies operate. Every board member who is not in that room deserves to know what changed and why before casting your vote tonight. If that information was strong enough to reverse a 6-week process, it belongs in front of the entire board and the community. Now let me address the numbers because the case for 0% rests on 3 assumptions that don't hold up. The first is that the surplus from this year will cover next year's deficit. The 26 budget was built around a $6.1 million construction transfer for the project. That drawn down was always in the plan. It's not savings. The way you identify it is that you look at the $3.3 million entering last year that are also projected to enter this year. If there was a surplus that was meaningful, that number would have gone up. That's how math works. So if the projected year-end surplus is the same, and what you're projecting forward is accepted, you are violating your own policy, which you've all proven that we don't follow sometimes by buying mowers anyway. The second assumption is that the budget's revenue is reliable. It's not. And this is where I want to be precise, because the board is combining 2 separate arguments into a single argument. Yes, this district has historically under-forecasted revenues. Actuals have beaten the budget by $2 to $3 million in the last 2 years. That pattern is real. You're valid in that argument. And it applies to existing funding streams where the district budgets conservatively and then out overperforms. But the biggest single driver of revenue improvement in this budget is $852,000 in an increase from state funding. That's not a correction of historical underforecasting on an existing stream. That is a projection of new money that has never flowed into this district at any level. The money depends on the governor's proposed educational funding that is right now being held up by a Republican-controlled state Senate. As of tonight, that budget has not passed. The House passed it in April. The Senate has not acted. Senate Republicans have publicly stated that they're going to hold this up over profound concerns about spending levels. Negotiations are ongoing with 43 days left, and last year, a 135-day delay led us to be in a little bit of a financial panic. The committee's own April 30th analysis showed that under a flat state-funded scenario, the ending unassigned balance goes negative. You're being asked to vote on a budget built around a specific legislative outcome that is right now being held up and likely not to pass. There's more. Last year's investment earnings ran $326,000 over budget because the district was sitting on $18 million in cash. The district's project projects $10.5 million in cash at June 30. Less cash means less interest. That's how math works. And last year's revenues included $464K in land sale, which we don't have, $130,000 insurance claim, nearly $600,000 in one-time items that aren't repeating that you all are conceiving show up in the budget. They don't. The third assumption is the most dangerous, that the surplus covers this year and the problem is solved. It doesn't. The committee's own multi-year projections showed deficits of 3.17 in 28, 3.74 in 29. If you use any surplus from this year to cover next year, that all you're doing is kicking that can down the road, and Act 1 index limits how much you can raise the taxes. Therefore, you're going to have to run a referendum in order to actually make the problem go away. The problem with a referendum is that the taxpayers cannot afford an 8 to 10% increase at a single time. You're better off teaching them how to budget differently through time. It's less impactful on people. Finally, the Board Policy 620 requires unassigned fund balance of at least 5%. Any of you who vote yes on the recommendation are violating your own policy. Let's see who has integrity and ethics and actually listens to your own policy. A yes vote is a vote knowingly adopting a budget that violates your policy with no acknowledgement, no explanation, and no plan to return to compliance. The board members who were not involved in that private meeting deserve the same information that changed the recommendation of the committee that led to the recommendation today. Thank you.
My name is Suzanne Johnson, and as a district parent and taxpayer, I've repeatedly shared my concerns about this district's spending and budgeting practices, and political agendas are only making things worse with Nick on the primary ballot tomorrow and a majority of this board's seats on the primary ballot's last budget season. That's why we're hearing 0%. After minimal cuts and some additional spending requests, the estimated budget deficit miraculously changed from an estimated $3.44 million on April 7th to now $2.64 million. This $800,000 deficit reduction appears to be not driven by net cuts to spending, but fooling with the calculations, as the previous speaker mentioned. Our estimated deficit is out of control, even if it's only $2.6 million and not 3.4. That's 6% of our budget. Significantly larger than surrounding districts, even though our budget is much smaller. Serious course correction needed. Your deficit shouldn't be more than 5% of your budget. Insane. It's clear we're on a dangerous trajectory with expenses increasing way more than revenues. Comparing this year's budget proposal to the actual numbers from the 24-25 audit, in just 2 years, our revenues only increased 1.6% because we didn't raise taxes. And while our expenditures increased over nearly 10.5%. You can't increase by 1 and your revenues, but have your expenses go up 10. Math, people. The Finance Committee scheduled 2 last-minute special sessions to try to find spending cuts and came up with almost nothing because they're unwilling to touch salary and benefits, which make up over 60% of the district's budget. As I've been saying, the only way to move the needle on our expenses is to reduce salary and benefits. And this should start at the top with the administration and business office positions. Those with the six-figure salaries plus benefits, and not the teachers nor others providing direct services to our students. There should be an immediate hiring freeze for Act 93 administration and business office positions. Of course, with the exception of the superintendent search, which the NICLIC has failed to complete for the past 9 months. Further, you shouldn't wait for retirements and other vacancies to assess whether positions should be backfilled, probably with people that have less experience and would then have a lower salary. But we don't need to just count on lower salaries. You need to eliminate those positions. We have 40 Act 93 positions in this district. Gettysburg has 24, and they are way bigger than us. So in addition to the Act 93 hiring freeze, administration and the board should commit to eliminating 3 to 4 org chart level positions from the leadership team. And there also needs to be a commitment to determine which positions should be reclassified to reduce our number of Act 93 positions. It's also quite concerning that last week, Nick, with the support of the majority of this committee, recommended moving $1 million out of capital reserves, which of course has disappeared from tonight's agenda because that would be what? Illegal. You can't move money out of capital reserves. Yet we were misled to believe that funds could be transferred out of the capital reserves when we kept dumping all those surpluses over there in capital reserves for years. Nick and others repeat conservative talking points without any specific plan. Politics have corrupted this board, and school directors facing elections have been disingenuous in pushing for no tax increase while continuing to approve expensive new spending. If you're going to approve spending, then you must raise taxes to generate revenue, but preferably cut spending and be willing to touch those six-figure salaries and benefits.
Just to correct you, the district has 19 Act 93 positions, not full. That is a piece of misinformation that was spread by a board member and members of the company. Mr. Shovik, budget recommendation.
Good evening. Tonight we'll be reviewing the proposed 2026-2027 budget and the recommendations that came forward from the FPS committee. Tonight the presentation will be more detailed and have some more explanation because the board is being asked to approve the budget this evening, and several board members were either not available for FPS committee or are new to the process. The goal tonight is to provide the budget process explanation towards the recommendations made by the FPS committee, review the overall financial picture, and provide context to the numbers included in the budget packet. All board members should have a packet in front of them so they can follow along. So we're going to start with the executive summary. The proposed 2026-2027 budget reflects a total projected revenue of approximately $42.16 million and a total projected expenditure of approximately $24.8 million. This results in a structural deficit of approximately $2.64 million. To balance the proposed budget, the district would utilize is planning to utilize the unassigned fund balance the district currently has at the end of the 24-25 audit, approximately $3.33 million in unassigned fund balance. Under the current proposed budget, the unassigned fund balance would decrease to an estimated approximately $688,000 at the conclusion of the 26-27 fiscal year. For those newer members who need some explanation on fund balance, there's two different types, assigned and unassigned. So assigned fund balance represents the money that's designated for specific purposes, such in our case as like healthcare or ACTI, while unassigned fund balance function as the district's general operating reserves for cash flow, emergencies, unexpected costs, and in this case for budget stabilization. The projected unassigned fund balance of approximately $688,000 represents about 1.54% of the budget expenditures. Operationally, this is considered manageable for this upcoming fiscal year. But as mentioned, however, as structural deficits continue in future years, the district will need to revisit long-term structural planning budgets and adjustments moving forward. So we're going to talk about some large budget drivers. So our district is no different than other districts. The large budget drivers are the areas continually outside of the district's control. These include special education, cyber charter school, salary obligations, healthcare increases, transportation, and contracted services. And we'll look at some other financial information upcoming. So during the most recent 4 FBS committees, I have shown here what the original recommendation was, what the discussions led to, and the final recommendation. And the reason I presented that is because a lot of information was showcased over those four meetings, plus a lot of information was sent out to the individual board members for understanding and clarity. So we'll start with the staff. So one of the major areas would include staffing and operation reductions. So during the discussions, the committee reviewed several staffing assumptions and operational requests, including the current vacant LPN position, maintenance requests, budget assumptions, and athletic programming requests. As you can see, the vacant LPN position was reviewed as part of the overall staff analysis, and the FPS committee agreed with the administration's recommendation to remove the vacant position through attrition. Next, we're going to go through maintenance. So there was 2 maintenance requests. One was to extend the interim maintenance director contract and the need for an additional zero-turn mower. So during the committee, there was discussions about the interim maintenance director. Originally, it was requested at 6 months. The committee originally started at 2 months, and then ultimately was removed due to budgetary constraints, along with the zero-turn mower. Athletics, there was a discussion through multiple finance committee meetings. We reviewed the high jump pit, boys and girls lacrosse, and the girls wrestling program. With the most recent committee decision, there was a recommendation to proceed with the high jump pit replacement due to safety concerns, with offsetting the cost with delaying the uniform cycle for 1 year. For both the lacrosse and girls wrestling, was essentially paused to look at and rebuild for the 27-28 budget cycle. We looked at also at transportation. Transportation had a significant increase this year. One was the overall contract costs, along with increased special education routes and non-public education routes. The committee got some information on the need for the additional request of an additional transportation route, which we're referring to as an in-town route. The reason we requested that is due to concerns related to the student overcrowding on several buses, extended ride times that could potentially lead to increased costs, and some discipline concerns associated with higher student counts on those bus routes. The addition of the in-town route was reviewed, and the estimated cost is about $68,400. The FPS committee did not come to a conclusion on recommendation and asked the full board to provide input on whether that in-town route will be within or without the budget. For reference tonight, all numbers shown is showing that transportation within the budget. The full board would request that to be removed. That would reduce it by $68,400. Yes.
Which not we didn't come up with it. We had a
Yeah,
tie.
there was a tie, so the recommendation was to bring it to the full board to essentially be the tiebreaker on that. FBS also looked at how we review budgetary projections with salaries, revenues, and real estate. So originally, the projections show, for my standpoint, we show the highest salary and the highest benefit to kind of put the budget as a ceiling to say if a person came in at the highest level, this is what the total cost would be towards a district. With the FPS review and with Dr. Moore, we adjusted those to do a more middle of the line with budgeting 1 teacher vacancy at a middle salary step, along with middle benefit levels, the other teacher vacancy with a lower salary step and lower benefit level. And we continue that logic as continuous vacancies open up, along with teacher assistant vacancies at their lowest salary level and lowest benefit levels. Along with state revenues, we originally budget the hold harmless scenario that has no projection increase from prior year or current year for state funding increases. With the committee's review, we landed on, after reviewing 100%, 50%, and hold harmless, landed on 70% within the proposed funding increases. The committee also discussed the future assessed value growth connected to Mayberry. It was decided to include approximately 10 homes per year, which increased the revenue projections every year through the future. And lastly, usually the most major topic is the tax increase. So the original recommendation was a 3% tax increase that was designated towards autism classrooms. The committee reviewed multiple scenarios, including 0%, 1%, 2%, and 3%. The committee ultimately landed on a 0% tax increase, which is shown within the packet tonight. So we're going to go through some key budget information. So expenditures, what's in the expenditures in that $48 million? So we have administrator and teacher salary increases, so the contracted obligations at 3.1%, support staff at 3.6%, PSERS at 34%, healthcare costs were originally at 10%. We did get a lock-in at 6.8%, so that was a reduction. We also have some utilities, transportation, and contracted services that also increased through the budget assumptions. On the opposite side, the revenue, the budget shows that reflects the 0% tax increase, along with the increased assessed values in Mayberry, 70% of the state, flat federal funding, and flat homestead farmstead. We reviewed that at FPS. The state did fund slightly less than prior year. So we're going to look at some of the budget drivers that we talked about. So the second autism classroom that did make it through the recommendation for compliance reasons is $296,000.
I was trying to show my
Sorry. So the autism classroom down at the bottom is about $296,000. The IU about $261,000. Cyber charter school $200,000, and that's essentially a catch up from prior year's actuals. It's a reduction overall, but with the new state legislation, but we're still playing catch up from prior years. $131,000 for transportation costs with the regular route down below and the additions. $55,000 for ACTI that was board approved already. $45,000 for utilities and the custodial contracted services. So the two reductions within the budget was the LPN position and the uniform cycle, and then the additions was the request back in was a high jump pad, and right now the tentative transportation route. So for reference, I have a 0% tax increase of what that looks like a $300,000 home. That's what the Finance Committee has seen over the past couple meetings. If we have 0%, you can see that results in about $3,700 tax bill for the resident. I did some calculations here recently. That's technically a 79-cent decrease from last year. With just some of the movement on that. So I'm just going to briefly highlight the rest of the packet. A lot of the information was sent prior through Excels, through a bunch of other information. So revenue, we're going through with the new scope of how to look at revenue, 70% of the state, and all the stuff we talked about. It is a $1.48 million increase from prior year, and is approximately about 3.65%. On the opposite side, the expenditure also increased $1.66 million, or approximately 3.85%, which we talked about the largest contributors being salary and benefits, special ed, cyber charter school, transportation, utilities, and contracted services. The rest of the packet is department summaries. The board has received that. There's minor changes from what that looked like. If there's any questions, you can send them to Dr. Moyer or myself, and we'll direct them to the appropriate administrator if there's questions in their individual budgets. So the very last page, or the last page within the packet, is essentially a one-page summary of what the budget looks like as a 4-year historical plus 2 years of budgets. This does show a 0% tax increase. So essentially the very far right column is what the budget looks like. At the top, we have fund balance. in the middle is revenues, expenditures, and then at the bottom would show what that fund balance would look like if everything held true today. So within there, I want to reiterate, we have a 0% tax increase, the removal of an LPN position through attrition, replacement of a high jump pit with a pause on one-year uniform cycle, and we still need a final approval if the transportation in-town route is within the budget. So I know that's a lot of information, probably a lot of questions to have on that.
All right, do we want to open the floor for questions? Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. On the back page, I just want to clarify a few items. At the very top, right below 0% increase, it appears you transposed the 500,000 to 456,508 under technology. You go down further and you transpose it. You're switched.
That should carry forward to the one at the bottom here, correct?
And second question, why have we got 600,000 back in transportation?
At the bottom.
Yes.
That is also correct. At the bottom. It is removed at the top, but I did not remove it from the bottom. The transportation at the bottom, if you look down here in the 600, it's removed from the top, but I missed removing it from the bottom. It's formula based, and I must not have read it right now.
Tom, can you also confirm for us that we're going to drag our unassigned funds down to 688,000? Should we go through with this budget?
So as I spoke about, this is always a year in advance. If everything would come true that we're projecting today at the 44.8 million and 42.16 million in revenues, then yes, that would be an accurate statement. I can't predict what the future is going to hold, so this is our best guess right now. Everything we have within here would hold true as of today.
So that's a projection.
Correct.
You and I and most of the board members have been here.
Correct.
None of the original projections have been true. We've always budgeted a deficit and ended with a significant surplus.
And then on that note, while we're on the projecting part, we're also projecting state revenue as increasing, correct? Above $1 million?
70% of what the
So
proposed
we're projecting
governor.
that too, so that's a guess.
Correct.
That could be wrong.
That is also correct. It could be 0 up to his proposal. That's up to the state legislature to decide that.
But I thought your recommendation was that you historically went back and looked at what they've done for prior years, and they landed on that percentage of roughly.
Yes, typically we do see that. We always like to say it's not a guarantee because Harrisburg likes to change their mind of what gets what's proposed to what comes to final. Historically, yes, that is more than usually accurate about what what the state budget comes through at.
But last year, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
I just want to be clear on the ask for the transportation for the extra route. Currently in the district, we are not in a safety violation. We're not in some sort of, we have to do this because, we're violating some aspect of our policy or, what we're doing with transportation.
This is a request. Obviously, we'll go back to some of the requests. Yes, it's not a mandated item or a violation. It's more coming down to overcrowding, which we talked about can be a safety concern for overcrowding, extended ride times. If we go over a certain ride time length daily, that's an extra cost to the district, and obviously some discipline concerns. The more students that are on the bus, more discipline arises as those longer ride times plus more students on the bus. That was what funneled the request to add that in-town route.
Well, except that middle school and high school said they don't have really any disciplinary problems on the bus.
basically an overcrowding issue. We don't have this, just so I know, because I'm not on the FBS committee, so I'm just trying to understand it, okay? So we would be adding a second round, and so basically the current bus would basically be dividing the students.
It would basically be 4 or 5 buses, I don't remember exactly, and creating a new route to reduce 4 or 5 buses down in their capacity with that new route. So it's essentially pulling from 4 different routes to create a new one to reduce those 4.
They're not currently at 100% capacity, but
They're above what we internally like to hold as a capacity.
Well, if there's discipline issues, or, I mean, are the students being held accountable for that? I'm assuming it's elementary level, since you said that whoever was here answered the question, it's not at the middle and high school. That's not the concern. The concern is K through 5 right now.
But at the finance committee, they weren't able to point to any increased trends of disciplinary issues.
But you're saying the bus isn't to capacity?
no, it's not at capacity.
And
Problem is-
especially not for elementary, because in elementary, they can fit more kids than obviously high school, middle school.
They're smaller. They could fit 3 kids if they needed to, but they're saying they don't have to right now because we don't have that many. You're just saying overall in general for any busing, and there's not one specific route that's causing a problem right now, or that's the problem.
So there's, like I said, there's at least 4 to 5 routes that are above usually the trigger that we would request an additional route. So if it's just one, we would never request one, we would try to work that through. Since
Yeah.
there's several of them, and a lot of those are a large stop routes. So a lot of kids get off, so those routes would need to be broken up, those stops would be broken up over multiples. It's not an easy, you just pull a few kids here, a few kids there. A lot of them are large stops that the kids have to then travel to their home because of the stop is convenient for the district and the students.
Any other questions?
Back on the projected over $1 million from the state. Last year, my memory is correct. We only got $86,000 for education, for higher education, 0 for special ed, and only a little over $500,000 for the block grant. I think it was Bell grant.
Ready to learn. Ready to learn.
Ready to learn. I'm sorry, ready to learn. I get them too confused. So we're not looking at this over $1 million last year when we got state funding.
So with the 70%, there's slight basic ed. The state has not funded that much in the past 2 years, and same with special education. Between those two, it is significantly less than prior years. Most of the dollars have now been funneled through the Ready to Learn grant, and yes, they are using that as to address the funding lawsuit in Harrisburg, and we have seen the past 2 years, we've seen a $500,000 increase over prior years. So every year they've added $500,000 more to our base allotment within the Ready to Learn grant. So we're projecting 70% of both the basic ed, special ed, and Ready to Learn that's proposed from the governor's proposal, budget proposal.
So Ready to Learn is actually carried somewhere it fell off, where Harrisburg was cutting it back. There was money that was there.
So they've restructured how basic ed funding, the formula. They had a basic ed commission, they've reset the base, they've done a lot of stuff with basic ed. The formula now just generates less dollars here locally for our district. Most of our dollars is now gained through Ready to Learn grant, specifically the adequacy portion of Ready to Learn. So there's 2 different portions. The adequacy and tax supplement. We do not receive any tax supplement. We get the adequacy portion. So that is the majority of our increases year to year from state is Ready to Learn for those past 2 years.
So with the state mandates, they are funding it in a sense.
More or less.
On the Ready to Learn grants, my memory is correct. I remember you explaining to me that is also the Ready to Learn money. It's not to be used generally. It's tied with strings and forms.
So we have a list of criteria the state allows us to use it for. We have to submit that and get approval by the state every year. Like in this year, we're using it to offset some ELA curriculum. We offset some other items in the in the budget. I don't know 100% off the top of my head. It does help support some salary benefits here at the district of what's allowable. So every year we look at that and see how the best address a given year's allotment with the district's needs.
So because it's a grant, it has criteria in order to fund what we need funded with the mandates that are handed down from the state.
It's what the state dictates we need to spend the money in these areas.
Additional questions?
I have two questions. One, under the beginning fund balance, future athletic projects, you have $750,000 there. Does that include the $89,000 we already spent for the feasibility study?
That $89,000 would be within the capital reserve. So we pay that through capital reserve funds.
Okay.
That $750,000 is from last year's surplus and is designated towards future athletic projects such as the turf and the track. When we know those are coming, they're within a 3 to 5 year lifespan left, and that is to help fund those projects when they do come due.
I hear you, but I thought we put a cap on that project of no more than $750,000, so that if that's the case, then we already spent $89,000 of it.
You're correct, but this 750 is different from the baseball softball improvement that you're discussing.
Okay, and then my other question was, under ending fund balances, the general fund unassigned for $680,321. If I understand this correctly, that would take us under our 5%, right?
Correct, it would be 1.54%.
So that's going to violate our policy.
So the policy reads that the board will take in consideration to work towards reducing expenditures and raising revenues to get back to that 5%.
Thank you. We have a problem following policies in this county. Ridiculous. Thank you.
Other questions from the board?
Hey, Tom, a question. Under policy 620, the board will pursue options for increasing revenues and decreasing expenditures. Do you have any idea when we're going to start doing that? Because we're already violating policy. Should we pass this?
I would say the FPS committee looked at that over the past 4 or 5 meetings. We looked at several options and several scenarios.
Did you come up with anything? I mean, any cuts, any huge gains? Because we're obviously, the proposal, I should say, obviously says a 0% tax increase. So if we're talking about increasing revenues and decreasing expenditures, I'm wondering if we found any solution. Because before we even do this, we're violating policy 620. I'm wondering if we have any idea how we're going to increase revenues or decrease expenditures. I mean, we have to make drastic either way because we're really in a hole. You know what I'm saying? So do we have any plans right away, like now, like has it been reviewed or?
So you're just hearing those bailiffs' recommendation.
Well, I'd say cut $3 million out of the total budget. That's my recommendation.
Tell us
Everything, 7%. We equal it out so that we're not backing ourselves or the taxpayers, just to say in the district. Basically, both in a hole. Because we're in a hole. For 2 years, I've been on this board 2.5 years, no disrespect, but I've watched this board spend. And I've said a million times, we need to stop spending. And y'all just keep voting for more spending. And a lot of the stuff we spent money on was stuff like $220,000 for the basement in the high school. There was money spent we should have just held back. And I asked Tom on the contingency fund if we kept that money that was left over from the $900,000, if we kept it from the 1.8, $900,000 spent, where would it go? He said back in the general fund. No, we didn't do that. We spent it down. That's what I'm saying. We got to stop spending money. For over 2 years, we've been just spending.
That was for our students. And
no,
there
it doesn't matter.
Classroom that was needed and was already set, the money was set aside
Yeah, but it was
for
part
the
of the
building
original
project.
project.
So
Everybody's going to take turns.
So that part that we went and looked at is something that's needed for our schools. Our sixth graders through 12th graders can use. That was clearly given and shown to us, and it's needed. It's for our students. We are here for our students. for this, in this school district.
We're all here for our students. I would agree with that.
Not
But
everybody.
well, I would agree with that. We're all here for our students. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. The problem is when your expenditures in the last 2 years have increased 10.4%, and your revenues have only gone up in the last 2 years 1.63%, you're spending more than you're taking in. So I mean, that math doesn't work. You can't spend more than you don't have.
Right, I'm talking specifically for the monies that were allocated for the building project that was left over, that we all, I don't know if you were on the board at that point or not. We went down, we toured that room, and they told us that it was gonna be, they had monies allocated for that, and we agreed, since we already had it, part of the building project, to spend it, to use it for our students. It's a great thing for them to have. So that's not money that we're not overspending with that. It was already there, and we still didn't dip into all of it that was left over.
My issue is, when this project was originally done, the middle high school, it was projected to be $53.5 million. And it made roughly 58.5, I'm gonna give or take a few. There was a lot of electives put on there that were actually discarded or actually put away because they didn't want to, they just didn't have the money. The problem I find with is the projects that Janelle was talking about are projects that were not put in because they didn't have the money in the first place. So this board came along and okayed it because it came up. They knew when they did the the $53.5 million project that they couldn't afford it. So now it's on us, and we're supposed to say, okay, well, let's just spend out the contingency fund. Let's just fix everything in the district with leftover money. That's where we're running into a problem. I have a problem with that. Regardless of the situation, we only have so much money that we can spend in this district, and we can't keep spending it out. With $108 million in debt this district's in. $108 million, that's a $4.4 million bond payment. My point is, when you bought 3 cars, you can't afford a house. And you gotta cut back, regardless of what we need. We don't have the money. We don't have it. And that's where I'm at with this. I would love to rebuild the whole basement of the high school. We don't have it. We took on $58.5 million debt to put an addition on. I get it. But that should be the end of it. We already had some of the money left over from the Yellowwood Creek project that's added to it. And we just don't have it. We can't extend ourselves like this. We're running ourselves into a brick wall, in my opinion, with money.
We were talking about the athletic projects last year. It came before the board that we had to hire consultants to be able to understand what our dollar amount was going to be that we could send allocated. So money had to be spent in order to find out what it was going to cost. Then, when all the actual bids came in, it was like, blew us out of the water. I mean, it was double. I mean, I'm just speaking from memory. So, the previous board and other boards made decisions. I hear Al's words in my head that, unfortunately, you have prior boards and then you have current boards that we have to take responsibility and accountability for what people did in the past. Okay, so we have now this whole situation that we're trying to figure out, how do we make this work? How do we keep our, in order to have good people, you had to have a 3 point, whatever it was, increase for our Act 93 folks when we signed a contract with them, because we were losing people through they were going to other districts because we weren't paying them enough. And we're here for the students, right? So we have to bring more money in to keep the folks in here so that we have retention. So now, this board is committed, as we stated in the last meeting, that there's not going to be any furloughs or anything like that. So we got to find it, and that's what this whole conversation is about.
There's no questions, comments from the board?
I have a comment on that. The Act 93 agreement, we weren't losing Act 93 employees, number one. Number two, it was done a year before it was supposed to be done. And it brought us 100,000 more in payments immediately, not including the 3.1% plus fees. That was a that was a contract that was done May 20th, 2024. And you voted for it, Mr. Yerker. and several other board members did. I didn't. But the CBA was done prior to this board, yes. And the project of the high school, middle school was done prior to this board, yes. But we have some responsibility, this board does, for what's happened since then. And the support staff, the Act 93, the $36,000 of bail, all this stuff added up. It all adds up. And it keeps adding up every year. I don't see how we keep going this route when we know the CBA's raising our fees, our CBA's, 3.1%, and fees is costing us between $600,000 and $700,000 a year. I've watched it every year. It's about the same, roughly. That's just the CBA. If you add the Act 93 and all, it adds up to be more. And my problem is, sooner or later, we have to bring in more revenue. So revenue has to come from somewhere, because we're way out going past the money we're bringing in. It's a recipe for disaster. I mean, we can keep patching it with temporary money that we have laying around, but that doesn't solve the inevitable problem that's coming very soon, like Honolulu, where they raised it 8% because they realized they backed themselves into a corner. And if I remember correctly, Gettysburg, I'm not going to speak on Al yet, is at that point right now, because I've heard Al say many times, hey, some previous boards didn't raise taxes enough, and now we got to raise taxes more. That's where we're going to be at. That's where we're headed. And it's going to be down the road. Maybe next year, following year, it's coming. And it's going to hit the people hard.
So you're recommending a tax increase?
No, I'm recommending cutting $3 million across the board, period. Come on.
So even though we're projected to have
$3 million across the board.
So even though we're projected to have another surplus of over $1 million.
We're guessing on that. We can't, when we do a budget, when I do a budget at anywhere in my businesses or anything, I don't project it on how many customers I think may show up.
The year's almost done, it's not a guess.
It is a guess. Because every year, like Tom said, we're presuming they're going to give 70% of the state budget. We're presuming that. That's a guess.
But you also can't project a budget based upon projections that are wrong every year. Every year they're wrong by millions of dollars. And it never comes to fruition. The projections the last several years, we've projected multi-million-dollar deficits, over $1 million deficits, and we end with multi-million-dollar. We've almost had, just in the past 2 years, close to $5 million worth of surpluses. So we can't use numbers that are just pie in the sky, worst case scenario, and then use that to raise taxes
and cut positions.
And have people losing their jobs when the numbers just simply haven't been accurate. And again, I'll say, if you have, I'd like to know where your $3 million is to cut.
I told you across the board.
But across the board doesn't tell anything.
That would
just
equal it out.
Easy.
And because we've gone past our limit on spending, we've gone way past it. I mean, I've got a huge list of it.
What's your list of positions, your list of expenses, your list of supplies?
I said across the whole thing.
But that doesn't answer any questions.
That
doesn't give any
questions.
direction to the district.
We got to stop spending money.
No, you don't know what you're
and we need to cut back. Yeah, I do know what we're talking about.
You don't.
I've been self-employed my whole life, Nick. Don't insult me.
But you're not giving it any examples.
Don't insult me.
Of what
I know what I'm talking about.
You're not giving any examples, and you're being totally.
No, I'm giving you examples. $3 million across the board has to be done.
0 examples.
Has to be done. Or we're going to back ourselves in a corner.
Any other questions?
Do we want to talk about lacrosse and wrestling? Does anybody want to give input about the?
I have some thoughts, and I just think personally we are top heavy in a school district our size. We're student wise. When my older boys graduated in 2020 and 2021, 150 to like 160 students ish. We're down to now 112 incoming students. I think the 6th grade class is the biggest class right now at 160. We're top heavy in this school district, and unfortunately, I think personally, it's pulling from our students, from our athletes, from our teachers, from their classrooms. And I think that, I don't know what's great, Dwayne, but we need to be looking at some, we need to be looking at cuts. Where exactly, I don't know, that's not my expertise. I'm just bringing it forth. If I can refer to the wrestling and the lacrosse program. Again, I wasn't here in person last week, but I was a part of the meeting, and I didn't attend the FP&S meetings the last 2 weeks. But I personally think that we do definitely need the girls wrestling program. I want uniforms for the athletes. I want to see the scoreboards for the athletes. If we're going to really have a surplus after this current school year, we need to fund these things for our students. That's what we're here for. Additionally, I want to see more money allocated to the classrooms for the teachers. I believe they've been level funded for several years, and honestly, it's an embarrassment that they have to fundraise their own money, have the parents bring things in, ask for donations, getting a ton of fundraiser forms that come home. There are several parents in here right now. We can all attest that the school need these things, but parents are having to provide these things, or grandparents, the community. It's basically the same thing everywhere, and it's every year, and the teachers have to do it less. I've always, when I ran for school board, ran on being fiscally responsible. And it doesn't mean we can't raise taxes, but we are I believe, we're not as bad as some districts in Adams and York counties, but I think we need to consider a tax increase. I have some things here, written down. If you want to go further in that discussion, we can. I will say, the lacrosse program, I didn't know there was as many athletes that were interested in that were here tonight. My one concern is I think it's in the fall. I know we have an amazing coach, Mrs. Lawyer, for the girls field hockey team. So I don't know, is that going to pull? Because I know our numbers, even in the sports athletics, some of them are dwindling down. Even in football, years ago, people said this was a football town. Well, the sports here have really increased with popularity, but maybe not necessarily in size. And I'm afraid it could maybe pull from other programs that we currently have. If I can just.
I think lacrosse is in the spring.
Lacrosse is in the spring? Okay, all right.
Dr. Becker?
It is in the spring? Okay.
So you're saying cuts and a tax increase?
Yes, I think we need to meet somewhere in the middle. I think we need cuts. I think we need a tax increase to kind of leverage that together. One thing I do want to correct, I know that the allowable limit for a tax increase is, I think, 4.5%. So I don't know how Conewaga Valley got away with that. Maybe because their district is bigger, they can raise it. Their ceiling's higher. But I don't think we can in Littlestown raise 8 to 10% for taxes. I don't think we can do that.
Every year we have an Act 1 index.
Right, and I think this year it's 4.5%. So that's for Littlestown. Yes, that's because we don't have as many residents as Conewaga Valley would. So I do like, back to lacrosse. I know I'm kind of going everywhere, but I do like that it was brought up, have the parents put that cost forth for the next year. Do we know for sure that if we don't go with that co-op this year, are they not going to extend it to us next year? I don't know. The people here that were speaking, I know we can't really banter back and forth with them or ask those questions, but that's something I would like to ask. I like that Gettysburg's willing to offset the cost, but that also then ups their costs to their school district. With our students. So the fundraising idea I think is great. Parents paying in the first year, reevaluating maybe the second year. I don't know, but I know that there is a need definitely 100% for girls wrestling. I've advocated for that since my older boys, who are now married and out of college, since they were in middle school. And I know Mr. Martin worked really hard to get a girls program started here. At least, and I believe at the elementary level we have some girls that go to some different tournaments, or parents take them for that. But I would really like to I'd like to get more information on lacrosse. I'm not saying a definite no. I would like to get more information on that, but I definitely think we need to get the girls wrestling. We have a lot of great athletes, and I know Gettysburg has their own wrestling program. I don't want our girls to have to go there. I want to do that here in our district. And $10,000 in the long scheme of things, yes, every penny adds up, but it's not a lot of money when it's for our students. And I think that we really need to look into that and consider that. Additionally, if I can keep speaking, and I'm sorry, but if anyone maybe could piggyback or if you have any other thoughts. Last year, our school libraries, we as a committee, the recommendation, I believe, with this was just not to, like, the administration didn't think we really needed any of that. It says it was $500, but if I recall correctly, looking at the information for each school, I think it was a couple $1,000s. So why was it last year a couple $1,000s that we were saving with the library, but this year it's only showing up $500? Like, I'm confused by that. So if I could get some clarification on that as well, that would be great. And I know that was a lot of things I just said and shared. I hope I'm not rambling, but I'm passionate. But yeah, so again, being fiscally responsible doesn't mean, and we're going to be hurting in a few years if we don't increase our taxes this year. And I would like to see us kind of meet in the middle, making those cuts, but also raising taxes. And I'm not even saying 3%, but I think we need to, I'd like to see, my personal opinion is a 2%. That's where I think we should be, 1.5%, 2%. And again, I don't like that. It affects my family too. It affects all of us. But one thing that some people need to realize is that this inflation and everything that's happening, the cost of living, Littlestown Area School District is not exempt from that. It affects them too. Gettysburg Area School District, everybody's not exempt from that. We have budgets we have to live by. You know, or they're going to come start collecting things. You know, you're going to repossess your cars if you're a car payment. You know, you're going to go to foreclosure if you can't afford your house payment. We really have to, and I think that's part of being fiscally responsible, that terminology and this whole thing is looking, again, we are very top heavy in the school district with at the top with positions. And so I think that we really need to be wise and consider and look into what can be done. And I guess, Tom, that would be a discussion, I guess, with you, you know, with, I don't know if it's the
Unless you cut it.
Well, we need a business manager, so we can't cut Tom. we need somebody, but I mean, it's just, we just have to be wise, and I feel like it stinks, we're at a really bad spot. We're at a difficult spot, but I think we have to have these hard discussions. We have to have them.
Having surpluses in the millions is a bad spot.
No, that's not a bad spot, but again, we don't have, that's not a guarantee. We're not guaranteed that. We don't know what's gonna happen in the city this next year. And you know, the cyber charter schools, yes, they're draining us, but that doesn't come from us. We're being told what we have to pay from the state. That's all a state thing. Like that, unfortunately, it is affecting us. We're not the only district that it's affecting. But I mean, besides contacting your state reps and advocating and trying to figure out what to do, I mean, there was some legislation, but it's not, to me, it's still not good enough. There needs to be a lot more done to it. But again, we don't know what we're going to surplus. We just don't know.
Can I get back to Janelle, that big thing? Can we get some clarification? Thank you, Janelle, for talking about the lacrosse and the wrestling. Two things. She had mentioned pay to play. Is that something that's saying that if we approve it, that the parents are going to pay for everything for their first year and not a district expense? And my second question is, if we don't do the wrestling for the girls, is that a legality problem in the district because we have boys wrestling? I'm just asking. I mean, I'm curious.
In terms of legality, we only have boys wrestling now. So
Okay. I didn't know if we had to have both or.
Pay to play, I don't know that there's, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that we do that for any other sports.
Not currently.
And me personally, Dr. Moyer, are you familiar with that being a practice?
Do we do that for golf?
We pay for golf. There's no coach, it's a volunteer coach, but we pay for all expenses related to the individual who golfs, so tournament fees, hotel fees, transportation, but just there's no coach since it's less than the threshold, so it's a volunteer coach.
What about swimming?
We don't currently, we had a co-op with swimming, I believe, I'm trying to think back.
Yeah, so we do.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I have heard, in some programs of trying to get off the ground, that there was participation from parents and the participants that helped towards to defray of some of the costs, to contribute a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's something worth exploring, just to make sure that that's a legally available option.
I think that's a great idea. I think the girls wrestling, the turnout was fantastic. And I personally don't see a problem, but I didn't realize the cost was as common as it was.
Is there any additional discussion at this point? We're gonna have another round of discussion when we get to the actual budget agenda item. So is there anything you all want to discuss right now?
Just one more thing with Tom. Tom, I'm noticing, if you wouldn't mind explaining this, the ACTI fund, wasn't that supposed to be gaining around $181,600 a year? Actually, it was $180 when we first brought it on. I see it staying at $700,000.
So right now, when we go to look at next year, we'll address that. So right now, it's just a placeholder for 700,000. Correct. So when we get to the end of this year, there's going to be more information, I'm assuming, to come about ACTI, and we'll discuss that.
Well, I remember the vote for the 1% tax increase in year 24.
You're correct.
And it was promised it was going strictly to ACTI.
Yeah, but then we bumped it up to 700,000.
Correct.
No,
So
we should have more than 700,000.
So when the board has an opportunity to look at fund balance allocation in the fall, we'll look at that 181,000 or more, potentially, or less, depending on what the year end brings.
So you're saying 1% we
So
charge
we don't pre-fund the fund balance every year when we get to the audit. We then do that, so future projections don't show increases that may or may not happen. We just hold stagnant as those show.
Even if they were promised.
Correct. And the result, we have a deficit, we would have to pull 181 from somewhere to fund that, pre-fund that, so we don't project those forward. That's a decision the board gets to make every fall. The board can change their opportunities and change how they want to allocate that 181 as well.
And I thank you for explaining that. My only issue is, I remember the whole discussion on the ACTI, and then we struggled to get 5 people to vote for that. And the contingency was told to the board members on the stage that it was going strictly to ACTI every year at $180,000.
Yes, and I agree. At the time it was, every year the board has an opportunity to reassess all options that they have. That's not a direction for me to decide. That's up to the board. If the board changes where that 181 goes, I will reflect that as the board changes it. So it's an every year opportunity. The past few years, yes, we have designated 181 towards ACTI.
Any additional questions? Thank you. All right, Kevin.
Just one note. With the vote tonight, is the 0% shown? So if anything changes, I just need an official, or what's changed to be projected to be advertised tonight, if there's further discussions on that. So I'm assuming there's a proposed budget, we have to let that sit for 30 days. So there's further discussions that can change in June, or if decided tonight, just have to change, reflect then to the public.
So the board just has to let you know if there's any changes, what that is tonight.
We just need an official 100% decision from the majority of the board of what's going to be advertised to the public. So they can sit for the 30 days to be finally approved in June. There will be opportunity for the board to further discuss in June. We go to approve tonight. There has to be a clear decision of something in or out for tonight's approval.
Tom, before we leave this, I know Mr. Alasakis asked us not to forget about a topic that we had talked about before, that we have a scoreboard on our stadium that is pretty much at the end of its life. And correct me if I'm wrong, the board needs to give you or us some direction on what we want to, how we want to handle that as well.
So Jeff has asked us to basically get a tentative if we're going to proceed forward with the scoreboard. So the FPS committee received information around scoreboards, specifically for the stadium, baseball, and essentially a mobile scoreboard for softball in lieu of any potential changes to softball. With that timing, to be able to have a scoreboard functional within the stadium for fall sports, we would need some immediate board direction tonight to move forward. If it's not something we can do, that will most likely be on pause, at least for the fall sports season, potentially the winter sport. So that was Jeff's request to see if we want to proceed with getting quotes and availability and more information at this time.
And what happens if the board says no? I mean, can we still host events?
So right now the scoreboard's still functional, but it is starting to become obsolete with software, and somebody has to climb the ladder to make any updates.
Yes.
The lighting's starting to go back. So yes, we're starting to get some end of life.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like we need it. I know even in Leaf Out there was issues, during that season as well.
So as Ryan Board, that was always part of the $750,000 with the athletic improvements. We know the bids came in high. That was always pulled out to do separately through a different vendor. That was recommended by the consultant. We did that. We just need to go ahead with if we're going to fine tune that some more, if the board's willing and open to that discussion.
When do we talk about that? Can we talk about that now? Since it was brought up, or when do we discuss that?
About when?
The scoreboard.
That would be, what's on the agenda tonight is just the preliminary.
Right.
If the board wants to make changes, they can make changes and let us know what you want in or out throughout the month of June. We're gonna have another finance committee meeting, we're gonna have another work session, and then we'll vote on the actual budget in June.
Right, but don't we have to vote tonight on the scoreboards? I thought that's what you
It's not
said.
on the agenda.
It would more or less be a straw poll if we're proceeding. So we can
Okay,
get more information
okay.
before June for final approval.
And we'll talk about that, I guess, during the next budget talk here coming up later.
So it would be part of the
Okay.
June FPS and final approval. We would need some direction that we're proceeding forward to have all that information ready to go for FPS.
Well, I would recommend bringing it to FPS, and I mean, we can't take a vote tonight on scoreboards, because that's not on the agenda. So,
Can we make an amendment to do that?
because that's an item that is about expending. All right, can I have a motion to approve board meeting minutes 1 through 6?
So moved, Janelle Westler.
Motion for, do I have a second? Any discussion?
I'd like to say, once again, I brought this up before, I don't like the idea of combining all the minutes.
Any further discussion?
You're gonna cut me off.
I thought you were done.
No, I mean, I think this needs to be addressed. This isn't something we've done in the past, and I don't like having to say no to all 6 of them. But tonight I'm gonna have to say
So
no.
you say pull one and have it vote
No,
separately,
no,
like we do
he's
every
moving-
other section.
No, he's moving them all together.
No, but every section we vote on, you can
He didn't
pull
say
one.
which one you want to pull. I want to pull them all.
Mr. Sullivan, we have to approve our meeting minutes. If there's a proposal for change like we've done in the past, you can give that to the board and the board will vote in or out the proposal. You don't have to vote the minutes down. So if there's something you'd like to change, make a motion to amend the minutes, and then we can change the minutes.
Well, and I agree, but when we're doing them all together, because a lot of times,
You can still do it, you can still make that motion. So let me know your change, and put it in form of a motion for it to amend.
but the problem is, when you say no, when you say, the board says, no, we're not going to change it, then I'm still voting against all 6 minutes.
Again, we have to approve the minutes, so.
We've never done it all together.
We have to remember. So,
Yeah, a number of months.
Is there any, do you have any amendment?
Well, no, that's not my specific problem. I wanted them to be like it used to be, where we actually had discussion about each one, or if we didn't, we didn't. But we seem to be combining them all for a reason.
Well, I think that's when they said before several times, if you have a problem with the minutes, message the person, which I believe is Tom now, tell them your concerns, share your concerns, ask your questions, and then you can discuss it with him then, not now.
And now we're not deliberating in a public meeting. So I guess we're
That's
going to
not
do everything behind
deliberating.
closed doors.
No, that's not at all.
Yes, it is. Because you
Mr.
as the
Sullivan,
board have to
Mr.
decide.
Sullivan, I have a as I've just told you 2 minutes ago and in the past, if you have a motion to amend the minutes, please make the motion to amend the minutes before. We're going to do it in the public meeting. Everybody's going to vote on the amendment. So go ahead.
Go ahead and one.
Make your motion.
I'm not gonna make a motion. I don't like the fact that you have the minutes tied together.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
I said she'll make a motion.
What?
I said, I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
My motion is we add back new business to this current agenda right now before us tonight. We add back new business, that's my motion.
That's not your main motion. We already have a motion on the floor for approval of the minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
Opposed.
The ayes have it, motion carries. It's findings.
Okay. And property and supply committee report. Any board members have any letters they want pulled separately? Let me know.
Yes, I would like A pulled. And C.
I'm sorry. C. What did you say?
C.
C, thank you.
I like G and H and J. One. Or one.
I'm sorry. You have to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I apologize. J1, and 4.
Can I also pull F2, please?
Anybody else? All right, I recommend approval for B, D, E, G, H, 9.
Not G and H. I pulled it.
You did pull it. Okay. I'm sorry.
So it's just I.
B, D, E, and I.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second, Wayne Sullivan.
Any discussion?
Well, we want to thank everybody for the donations. But the PTO bingo, that's actually just a reimbursement because the district can't get a bingo license. So the PTO pays for it. And then this is just, you obviously say it's a donation, but it's actually just a reimbursement. But we still thank them for doing that, getting the license there. But the teachers ran the bingo, so.
And on E, Tom, question. On E, is the price that's on there for this contract, is that more than it was last year?
It does have a slight increase every
Okay.
year. Yep, it is locked in. We did an RFP, or renewal, I should say, 2 years ago with the last.
So you did do an RFP.
So we did an RFP with them. We were satisfied with the service, so we extended it 3 more years. This is year 2 of the 3-year extension. So yes, they do have a slight increase every year for the 3 years.
So we're in year 2. So next year we visit this again, we'll still have the same company. Then we do an RFP.
We will look and see if we're satisfied with the services or we want to look elsewhere and do an RFP to request additional services.
Okay. Penny?
So we're still on the group all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, the motion carries.
Recommend approval for A.
I have a motion on the floor to approve the suspending any further transfers from the general fund to the capital reserve fund from the middle school, high school construction project to utilize existing capital reserve fund balance for all remaining construction expenses. Do I have a second? Second, anyone?
I'll second it just so we can talk about it.
Okay. I'll give the explanation for this. The finance committee last week made a recommendation for in addition to the budget, to make $1 million transfer from the capital reserve back. We would materialize. However, it has to be done so over a 5-year period of equal amounts. And so it would have to be done every year, $200,000 per year. So that's what we were advised. So in lieu of that, myself and Mr. Chobaker and Dr. Moyer discussed the current transferring that's going on as needed from our middle school, high school building project to the capital reserve to pay those invoices as needed. There's approximately $1 million in that fund that would currently, as invoices and pay applications continue to come in, would be transferred from the BAT fund, which is within the general fund, as an assigned balance, to the capital reserve. Within the capital reserve right now, we have $3.2 million worth of grant project funds, which were designated for that. And then we have an additional $3 million on top of that. What Mr. Shoemaker has stated is that typically the board has kept from $1.5 to $2 million in the capital reserve for future expenses. So the Finance Committee recommendation, essentially, this is a way to hold $1 million in the general fund. The board has the flexibility, because previously we had been told when we were making transfers to the capital reserve that we could move it back. Well, it's not as easy as it was told to us. So what we're recommending is so that the board maintains the maximum amount of flexibility over our fund balance to stop those transfers, spend that money out of the current capital reserve. If we need additional money in the capital reserve, we can always decide to move it. But we have millions of dollars in excess in there that we can spend that down with building project expenses and still maintain $1 million in our general fund balance. Questions on it?
Do we know the exact amount that's in the capital reserve right now?
And the capital reserve?
Capital reserve fund, yeah.
I have to look up the exact, you want the exact amount we have currently?
Whatever is currently in there.
So I will refer you to, I believe, the monthly treasurer report that's on the board agenda. Item K7. That would be the balance capital reserve as of April 3rd, 2026. So page 1, if you look at the capital reserve and then ending cash balance.
And the general fund?
If you go on down to the next section after the black line, it'll say
Right.
capital reserve. You go down about 4 lines, it says ending cash balance. You look off to the right hand side, it's 6.5. That is in lieu of any projects that are still pending.
General fund year to date? Is that where you're at?
No, number
Okay.
7, if you look up
Okay.
to the monthly treasurer report.
Capital reserve report. Got it.
The first page, about most of the way down.
Got it. Monthly treasury report, got it.
Like I said, that would be in lieu of any pending projects we still have that were approved this past fall.
So under ending cash balance total?
Yes, correct. That's as of April 3rd.
No way. Ending cash balance total?
Correct.
There we go. Got it. Okay.
So you're gonna take about $1 million.
So the proposal would be keep that $1 million within the general fund, and then pay the remaining approximately maybe $1 million expenses left. It's an as needed, so when we have all the payouts finished and purchase all the equipment, that would just be coming straight out of the capital reserve rather than the general fund. And that's what the proposal is on the agenda.
So the 1.1 million that's going to stay is not going to be put towards construction, it's going to stay in the assigned funds, the general fund. That can be used the same process as originally asked to take $1 million out of capital reserves. It's just a swap.
Essentially, it's stopping the general fund transfer to solely do it out of capital reserve.
But we're still going to have the 1 million regardless. I mean, we couldn't pull it out of capital reserves, so now we're just flipping it. We're just keeping the 1 million from going in and using the 1 million over here, and we're paying the construction costs out of the capital reserves that we can't add.
Correct. But it needs official board action because the last official board action was to continue the transfers.
And if I may, I mean, Littlestown, has shown and has been proactively fiscally responsible by keeping ample money in that account, to plan for future needs. So I just wanted to bring that up. We're taking money out of it. If we do it.
So Tom, what would the 1.1 million that we would wish to keep in the general fund, what would that be then designated for or spent on?
The board can make these.
That would help you. The board will.
We haven't done that.
You can make that decision. You probably put something on the agenda for next month to reassign. But you can give the board the flexibility to do it that way. They will. If they want to, if the board ends up deciding months down the line, if they want to make the transfer it over to the capital reserve, you have the flexibility to do that. You can reassign it to something within the general fund. It's just giving the board the additional $1 million flexibility for what you want to have done, as opposed to putting it in the capital reserve or limited.
So it's the same concept we have with the athletic fund. We talk about 750. In a future time, we'll have turf and track replacements. We don't know when, so it's best suited in flexibility purposes to keep it in general fund. The same with the 6.1. We kept that until the last possible minute for flexibility reasons, and then transfer that. Or we have the opportunity when those projects come up to move that funds to capital reserve. So we have historically kept it in general fund as long as possible to then use towards those assigned projects.
So,
and those the unencumbered balances left in capital reserve would facilitate the 10-year improvement plan that Mr. Trent keeps active every year.
but if we commit to this is a 5-year thing that every year.
No. This is in lieu of doing that 5-year thing. We're not taking any money out of the capital reserve and transferring it back. Currently, we're spending as bills come in, because we have. If you look at the budget sheet under this fund balances within the general fund. This isn't including any capital reserve here, but within these fund balances, there's future middle school, high school. So that's an assigned fund balance. As of last year, there was 6.1 million left in that. It was in 2024, in June, we approved transferring those funds as needed to the capital reserve as invoices come in to pay one for one as the invoices come in. What this does is, since the finance committee's recommendation was we'd like to have $1 million of that capital reserve money on hand and flexible for the board's use, since it's a more difficult process to do a 5-year to transfer it out, what we're just saying is let's stop transferring the money that would be going in, which is the equivalent, and just keeping it in general fund for flexibility as is typically the past practice.
So essentially, the budget that we're proposing tonight, where we needed the $1 million to help offset the deficits we're going to have, we're just still going to have, it's just going to be laying in the general fund. You just found another way to do it. That's essentially what it is. It's the $1 million that you wanted to move out of the capital reserve. It's going to be there. You're going to come back, and everybody's going to come back and say, well, let's use that to pad the deficit because we want to 0%. That's what it's being used for. I'll guarantee
It's
it.
being used for flexibility in any way the board so chooses, so that there's that initial fund. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you have recommended many times to move capital reserve money back. So I don't know how it's any different.
Well, my point was when I said move to 3.2 million, or actually I said don't even put it in to begin with. Be clear on that. My point was we had an autism class, we had special ed, we had more expenses and we should have kept that, and ACTI, we should have kept that 3.2 million up to begin with to pay those added expenses, but it got moved over with the assumption at the time that it could be moved back out with a full board vote or a 2/3 or whatever. We find out now we can't, so now that 3.2 million is stuck in there. If we wouldn't have put it in there back when we did, it wouldn't be stuck there, is my point when I was saying that. And now we have to take the million that we have over here that we're supposed to pay out to the construction company. We're just gonna lay that over in general fund and we're gonna withdraw it out of capital reserves. It's just another way of, so the $1 million comes out, but we don't have to do it illegally. It's done legally to pad our deficit this year.
It's the same principle of flexibility with the costs as you mentioned.
Well, we have to fund our 0%. If you decide to do 0%, we've got a huge deficit. We gotta fund it.
There's more than enough in the unassigned fund now.
Yeah, but it takes us below 620.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Ms. Bayless?
So, the total on our paper for the capital reserve is 6445257, but our ending balance, cash balance on the capital reserve paper online is 6577. So, is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're getting at 1 million?
Just to clarify that number reflects all approved projects that the board approved that might not be affected because we didn't have extension cash balance. There's always a timing of when we pay the invoices versus what.
Okay, so which one's correct? The one on the paper or the one online?
So as of now, the April one is the most accurate number for when we get to the year end, the fund balance, which has all projects accompanied in it. So when the board goes to approve next year's capital projects, when I project fund balance, those were approved, we'll project that less those approved projects.
All right, thank you.
I just want to go around and see if anybody has any questions on it. Ally, you good over there?
For now, yeah.
You know, Steve?
Did you have a question? No more questions?
Again, this is just to give the board the additional flexibility. They can do it, anything they wish to do. When it's in If there's no further questions, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no.
Opposed.
No, opposed.
Opposed.
Can I have a roll call?
Yeah. Danielle Brennan,
No.
Mary Brennan,
No.
Alan Saul,
No.
Nick Lovell,
Yes.
Jeannie Ewan,
Yes.
Janelle Gressler,
No.
Wayne Sullivan,
No.
Stephen Yerger,
Yes.
Donna Bayless,
Opposed? No.
6-3. Motion carries.
All right, we have D, recommended, sorry, after C. Approval of the, just did that.
No, this is 1C.
Okay. All right, recommend on F, recommend approval.
No.
D.
C.
C.
Oh, C, oh,
The budget.
recommend approval of the 2026-27 budget.
I have a motion on the floor for the proposed final budget. Do I have a second?
I'm gonna second it just so we can discuss it. Janelle Ressler.
Discussion.
Okay. So, going back to the things, what I would like to see is a 2% tax increase. I wanna see the girls wrestling program put into the budget, the high jump, uniforms. Gonna be honest, I was initially, looking through all this, I was against the lacrosse, but because we've had parents and students come and speak on it, and it seems like it's a lot of students. What I would like is to have lacrosse added back in with parents paying. We can reevaluate after the first year with the understanding that if we still don't have the funds, I'm hoping that we're in a better financial state next year, that there may be an additional year or two that they would need to take the responsibility and the brunt of that cost for their students. I also would like to see the LPN position added back in. So that is what I am, what my recommendations are for the budget going forward.
And, well, I'll say this to the whole board. The finance committee, certainly met several times, we certainly want your suggestions, and we will bring you the options that you wish to have. And we'll discuss it all there.
So we're not totally discussing it.
We can absolutely discuss it. Tonight's vote, just similar to 2 years ago. This is the proposed final budget. 2 years ago, in May, the first vote on the proposed final budget failed. We have to have a proposed final budget that sits for a month, gives people the opportunity to review, and then afterwards we can go forward. So what we would have had to have done back when Carla was here, we would have had to have a special session, and it would have to be sometime this week to do a different proposed final budget. What we're saying is tonight, this is just the preliminary. It can be changed. We have a whole other slate of meetings over the next month for the finance committee, the board in the work session, and then the final approval that the board can give their feedback and we can make the changes that are so needed. This is just a starting point that we are legally obligated to approve because we have to have something sitting for a month.
What happens if this budget time doesn't pass?
And we have to have a special session at some point this week.
It has to be this week.
Yes.
I just don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. Because some of us, the majority of us, didn't have any discussion in this. We had no say in this at all whatsoever. And honestly, I don't have time. I'm photographing a wedding on Thursday and Friday. I don't have time. I cannot be here for another meeting to vote on this.
But what we can do, is we have a month to work out the changes. We have a whole month to work out this. What's voted on tonight is not where we were. We have a month to work out all the changes that we want.
So we would have to vote because I don't like this. I don't approve it. I just don't want it all whatsoever. So I would be a no vote on this budget tonight. So I have to vote yes in order for us to. But we're not. The next meeting is a voting meeting. Like I'm not on the finance meeting, so I won't even be a part of the discussion again.
Finance, we have a work session, and we have a regular.
Right, but you guys have your finance meeting, and you have to bring it to the work session. But we're still not a part of those discussions in the finance meeting.
You get all the agendas and all the other.
Yes, we do, but we have to sit in the audience. We're not a part of that discussion.
Well,
but you get into the work session.
And the chair could, and if it be a desired board, the chair could invite board members to participate in the discussion.
So at the June meeting, I think it's June 2nd or 3rd, are the committee meetings? I have it on my calendar, I just don't have it up right now in front of me. So what I'm saying is if I vote yes to this tonight, which is going against every drain in my body right now.
June 9th.
June 9th is the FP&S meeting. that you will invite the full board to that meeting so we can be a part of that discussion, so we can bring these concerns and things that we'd like to see added back in? We can do that?
So,
And what do you want cut?
yeah, to bring forward,
So we-
bring
so we-
forward options to the full board, and if the full board wants more options to vote on in June, this is just the starting point to meet our statutory obligation of the preliminary budget.
Okay, then I do want the meeting minutes to reflect tonight that I do not, if I vote for this, that I don't approve it, I'm only voting for it so that we can move forward, because I don't have time for another meeting this week, I can't do it. But that I can be a part of the finance meeting, because we had a lot of students here tonight, and athletes, and I've watched them, and I photographed them, and they're amazing athletes, and I don't want them to think, oh, well, there's Mrs. Wrestler, and she's not supporting us. I do support them, but in order to make this right decision and to move forward from here, I think Mr. Bell's still back there, he's very passionate about lacrosse. I want to be a part of that next discussion for our athletes, the wrestling program for the girls.
So let me put it on record.
Okay.
The FS committee will invite the whole board. Show up, discuss, bring your concerns. Do it. That's what we'll do. Okay? So, plan on being there.
What about, like, I know I said about cuts, but I don't, like, do I have to meet with somebody before that to come up with ideas for that? Do I just come and say, hey, this is what I think?
Well, the board you've been given all of the line items by the administration.
Yes,
So
right.
Go through the line
Yeah, we
items.
went in, we had time to make sure we got that information.
I want to put that on the record, that board officers and any board member can meet with the administration to discuss.
And request
We have to do so
information.
more frequently because we have scheduled meetings, but we needed more clarification on the thousands of line items that we had to review, and that was the purpose for us meeting with Mr. Schofinger and Dr. Moyer. I believe Ms. Bayless went in last week or the week before.
No, I didn't, I did not.
She got information.
I did not, I sat in the chair right over there, and all I did
And
was.
I know you've done so in the
I got
past,
paperwork.
but you've done so in the past with Mr. Schofinger.
When I first came on the board.
And any board member is free at any point to meet with the administration. Further discussion of the budget.
I just want to clarify what it is. So we can come to your FPS meeting with all of our concerns and questions, which I have several. This is not passing the actual budget. Okay.
We just have to vote on it tonight, pass it, like a yes vote, even though, like, if you don't agree with it, I don't agree with it. But we have to vote a yes so we can be a part of the next discussion at the FPNS meeting.
And
Otherwise, we have to have an emergency meeting this week.
Anything else?
Now, that's my opinion. I don't have anyone else agreeing, and that's just me, so.
I would send the information to Stephen and myself, and we'll go through and accurately display the requests. Yes, to have that at the meeting and then be able to provide information and not.
It gives him time to get
relevant
it.
administrators that need to be here.
It gives him time to get information.
I would like to just take a minute, if that's okay, just so you all are clear, while I've got you all here, at least where I'm at with this thing. Is that okay?
Yes, please. You've been doing this for a long time, a lot longer than we have, Dr. Moyer, so
About
your
40
opinion
about
is
40
really
years.
appreciated.
First of all, I want to say that Mr. Schobaker, our business manager, purposely budgets conservatively. Public schools and municipalities cannot overspend legally. So I commend the fact that he is budgeting conservatively. And yes, that has caused sometimes a little bit bigger surplus than what we would like. We'd like it to be close to balanced, the revenue and expenses. But at the same time, if we do have a surplus, it goes into our savings account called a fund balance that helps the board out for next year to balance the next year's budget. That's not all bad. Currently, the Thunderbolts The expenses are outpacing the revenue by a little bit. We've got to fix that. My suggestion is it's got to be a team effort. A little bit of revenue increases on an incremental basis so that you don't have to do what Gettysburg's going to have to do this year and hit our taxpayers pretty hard. All right? Because of us not doing our part as a board the past several years. We've had a big windfall with a lot of development, like Amblebrook in Hunterstown. Littlestown doesn't have that, but there is some development here. We did not create the state formula for funding public schools, but Tom and the leadership team here, we have to follow the guidelines and the rules that we are given. I am not apologizing for wanting Littlestown, Gettysburg, and all of Adams County kids to have a really high quality education. I think as a taxpayer myself, if I've got good schools, I've got a good police department and first responders and a safe environment and great facilities like we have here, I'm willing to step up and pay my fair share. And yes, that might mean that we have to increase our millage a little bit. I do believe we have an opportunity if there's a team effort when the middle school is left vacant this year and combines to a grade 6 through 12 configuration, there will be opportunities to lose some staffing through attrition, whether it be at 93 groups or whether it be some teachers, because of the flexibility that we'll have with certifications and getting the job done. But I think the least amount of pain to make that happen, again, is going to be a team effort. As Tom has outlined in the executive summary, the primary drivers, mandated costs outside the district's control, special education, we have minimal to little control over that. Cyber and charter school tuition, we'd love to bring those kids back because frankly, I think cyber school is a substandard education. That's Al Moyer's personal opinion. I think we can do a better job than learning 100% remotely. Those really highly motivated kids, they'll be okay. All right. Contractual obligations that were made by the previous board and this board, frankly, when you make those obligations, all right, to give increases so that you want to keep good teachers and administrators, I commend you for that. But then it's disingenuous then not to give the resources to control that and make that happen. This guy does not have a rabbit in his hat. All right, he's not a magician. All right, so we've got to work together. These people and the rest of our departments here at Littlestown have been level funded for years. They don't have rabbits in their hats. They're not magicians either. The low-hanging fruit is gone here at Littlestown. I've only been here 8 months, but again, with my 40 years of experience, I've paid attention to a little bit there, and that's the fact of the matter. So, I would also say I never recommend using one-time money to balance a budget. We've got to find perpetual ways through expenses and generating a little bit of revenue to make those balance, that revenue and expense come together, so that the trajectory is going to be a good trajectory for us to balance our budget. I will also say this in closing. When schools and any organization or any household for that matter, when your fiscal house is in order, other things fall into place. So when you talk about we're going to revisit lacrosse or we're going to revisit a girls' wrestling program, if we don't take some action now, forget about revisiting those things because they're not going to happen. You won't have the financial means to make it happen. Again, you can use one-time money to band-aid things, but it's not a permanent fix. I think you all want a permanent fix or a permanent trajectory to bring those expenses and revenue together. Those are my thoughts. I'm sorry if I offended anybody, but I had to get that off my chest. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Mary Brandon? Nicole?
Yes. so we can discuss it at the FPS committee meeting on June 9th.
Wayne Selzer?
No.
Stephen Yerger?
Yes.
Donna Bayless?
Opposed?
Danielle Martin?
Against my better judgment, yes.
Motion carries.
You can't vote 0% and then raise it, and there it is. You can come down, you can't go up.
So, legal.
I know, I told him that
Recommend
last
approval
week.
of the animal fire life safety inspection should exceed ACES, LMS, LHS, and maintenance building of park systems, June 1st, 2026 to May 1st, 2029.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
So I liked, I read down a few things that Mr. Bell had said. If it's gonna save us money, I would just wanted to comment, can administration or whoever speak with Mr. Bell and talk to him about this, the savings, of what it could cost us?
This is item F, correct? Yes.
It's already decided, you said?
No, this would be a 3-year contract, so board would,
Oh, this, we're on absent.
we're on F.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So it's a 3-year contract, so we would have to revisit it in 3 years if it's approved.
Oh, I see.
Just for clarification purposes.
Maybe I'm wrong with this. Go ahead.
I have a question. This went out for an RFP, correct?
So this is the current vendor that placed the system within the middle school, high school. So we don't have to go out and RFP for services.
Because we're on our second year of the contract?
No, just by PA code, we don't have to go out for services. We generally do to get the best price, but it's not a requirement. So for large dollar figure contracts, we almost always go out to RFP because we get the best rate. For small vendors like this, those rates generally do not mitigate all that much. So we usually have a vendor that we prefer, that has worked well with us, that we continue to use until such time that they no longer meet our services, such as the request of this new vendor that our previous vendor was not able to meet our services.
So, how many years on this contract?
This is the first
Of a
3-year contract. This would be the first year we would use our system.
Can you explain again what specifically this is for?
So this is the fire safety or life safety inspection. So most like it's the fire extinguishers for the most part. Other safety, so fire safety. How they come in and they can inspect, make sure they're good working condition.
Is this state mandated?
That I cannot consider a good state mandate.
Well, he was,
That I defer to Mr. Sherman to keep that. I don't personally know what mandate that is.
Mr. Chebecker, can you tell me what the last contract we had cost?
Not this exact number.
Can you get back to me on that?
Yes.
Well, you don't know. I mean, I just want to know what the difference is.
Yeah, I do not have that available.
is this for all the schools?
Everything except Maple Avenue,
Yeah, but obviously. So it'd be 2.
plus the maintenance.
All the maintenance building. Is this something that we've typically done over the years?
Yeah, every year we had Some are not, and that's just due to when they're approved. They start immediately the next month after they're approved. This has been a May approval for years. It's been on my list to have one fire safety inspection for May.
So obviously this is something we've been paying for years.
Yeah.
We just don't know the amount between last year and this year, obviously.
Yeah, I would have to go back and look.
I'm just curious how much it went up, like what the cost is, what the cost difference is.
Tom, can you correct me if I'm wrong? In one of our past committee meetings, you were recommending this particular company because the one that was currently being utilized was not up to par, and they were not dependable. They, just issues, and so recommending of this puts us more in line with, whatever compliances there may be, and, just got a fire going on, you want to grab a fire extinguisher, you want to make sure it works, right? So,
correct. Our current vendor, we were not satisfied with, so Mr. Troner researched and went with our systems.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
do you recommend approval of floor coverings to replace school floors in the high school for high school and middle school construction project?
Have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second, Mary Beth.
Any discussion?
This is the one where we went and looked at the floors.
Yes, this is due to the four we had, due to the way the contractor was able to go out and receive additional information, additional quotes, just took some time to gather that. But it was a savings to do that.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it. Motion carries.
H Lamage, I recommend approval for the POE injectors for the Dolphin Datacom, the ASIS camera upgrades approved capital project.
Have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second, Mary Beth.
Any discussion?
Is this in addition to the cameras that were already put in?
Correct, this was a oversight by Dr. Andler. He sent me that he missed this particular units for their multi-camera units. This is an additional item that's needed to run those cameras.
In ACES?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay, I see.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Opposed.
The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Recommend on J, recommend payment of invoices 2 and 3.
Have a motion on the floor to approve the cafeteria checks and the student activity checks. Do I have a second?
Second, Wayne Sullivan.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
J, payment of invoices, item 1, general fund checks.
Have a motion on the floor to approve the general fund checks. Do I have a second?
Second, Mary Beth.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Opposed.
The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Item J, item 4, capital project checks.
Motion on the floor to approve the capital project checks. Do I have a second?
Second, Mary Beth.
Any discussion?
Tom already answered my question.
All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Treasury report noted in the report.
All right, under personnel.
Mr. President, I have a question, Pat. I need clarification. Because people were speaking after we voted on the budget, that it's illegal for us to be able to discuss and raise taxes for the next meeting. That's not correct.
That's not my understanding. What's been told to us.
How do we find that out? Because if we can't, I'm changing my vote. We have to go back and revote. I need confirmation.
The board can raise the tax increase. What typically school districts do is they approve the highest amount for public view and public participation purposes. So approving at 0 and then going to 2, that could extend those requirements to advertise
So we can do that, that we're not in illegal, we're not doing anything
100% sure.
illegal. Okay, just thank you for clarifying. Well, I'm just asking because you, actually, in the audience had stated, and it caught my ear, I didn't think we couldn't do it, but I just wanted to verify to make sure, so thank you for letting me know that, I appreciate that.
Yep, so boards are allowed to raise the taxes, just might need some additional advertising.
Thank you.
Is there any, under personnel, are there any items that we'd like to pull? Obviously, B, we pull, are there any others?
I think I'd like to pull A, just to have a discussion on J.
All right, can I have a motion to approve personnel report items C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K? Motion on the floor, do I have a second?
Second, you went off. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Second, moved and seconded, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it, the motion carries. I have a motion to approve granting permission to the acting superintendent and will approve superintendent to advertise and hire personnel for open positions as needed between June 22nd, 2026 and August 17th, 2026, at which time the board will finalize approval at the regular meeting. Motion on the floor, do I have a second?
Second, Janelle Russell.
Moved and seconded, discussion?
Yes. Question. Are any of these positions going to be Act 93 personnel?
We don't have to. I don't think so.
Okay.
That's, sometimes there's things that happen unexpectedly, but as far as I know, no.
So there's no way to cap this to where we don't hire an Act 93 personnel under this agreement? Without writing it in there? Like non-Act 93 personnel?
I guess it could be amended, but, like everything else.
Motion to amend.
There's no plans to hire any Act 93 person, but
And what if I make a motion to amend to say non-Act 93 personnel?
if it would be something that we absolutely have to replace, we would have to call for a special meeting or something.
So, why don't we, this is June 22nd, we still have one more.
Yeah.
Why don't we
Table it.
Yeah.
Until June.
is there a motion to table it?
I'll make a motion to table it until June.
Second.
Motion's on the floor of the table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say no. Agenda item is tabled. And I have, for this, I will open the floor for nominations for the board treasurer for an annual term effective July 1st, 2026, June 30th, 2027. Are there any further nominations? Can I have a motion to close nominations?
So moved, Mary Kay.
Second.
Second,
Can I have approval, motion to close nominations? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Nominations are discussion?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it, motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the behavior specialist contract with Elevate Mind in Elizabeth? Is there a motion on the floor? No motion, do I have a second? Discussion.
I have a question.
Ms. Ressler.
Would this be a behavioral specialist number 7 for our school district?
This is,
Or-
we have 2 behavior specialists. This is great fun.
Okay, well, I'm just kind of all encompassing 7. We have 6 mental health people, staff in our school district right now.
Dr.
Behavioral
Piazza, you want to
specialist.
give a rundown of the positions?
We have 2 school psychologists. Right now, we have 2 behavior specialists and 1 mental health therapist.
Second behavior specialist is the one
Yeah, this
for
is-
approval with
yes.
PCC grant.
So they're 100% paid by the grant?
Yes.
Can we use that grant towards the other 5?
No,
So this grant will only pay for this one position?
correct.
And how long is the grant good for?
1 year.
How will we pay, I guess I should put on either one. How will we pay for this position after the end of that year?
Well, I look for the grant for the following year. So I think this is the 3rd year, Tom, for this
This
grant?
is the 3rd year of the PCC grant, and it specifically has funded this position for 3 years, once the ESSER funding was expended. ESSER funding were expended, we brought some positions in-house. This position has been PCC grant funded since then, so I believe this will be the 3rd year for that. Every year we wait to see if the PCC grant be proposed within the budget to be approved for the subsequent year. At the time it's not, it's up to the board to address if this position is being funneled through the district or not at all.
So we have one behavioral master, specialist that we are paying for.
Correct.
I have a question, maybe Carolyn can answer this too. So we have 2 psychologists, 2 behavior specialists, and 1 mental health specialist. Out of all those, which is 5, how many are covered under grant?
1.
Just 1, so we're
Just
paying
1.
out of the district for the other.
Correct.
So that would be
The other 5.
2, I'm sorry.
The other 5.
There's 5 total.
There's
Right.
one total of 1 paid by.
So this
One's
adding,
paid for, so it's 4.
so this is not adding a position?
No, it's not
This is
adding.
one of the
It's
current
payment
positions we
for
already
one of the
have.
current positions.
It's utilizing next year's grant funding to continue that position.
Please don't think I was just asking. That's it. I just wanted to keep it up here. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion carries. Anything that anyone would like to be pulled under CCMD?
Yes. I would like, letter D, policy 611 pulled.
That's
Number
only-
5.
That's only for discussion. So that's, we don't have to vote on that. So if you have
First reading.
discussion on it, we can, after we approve these, you can discuss it.
Okay.
All right. Hearing, can I have a motion to approve items A, B, and C?
So moved, Wayne Sullivan.
For a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. You have discussion on 611?
Yes. I want to have it sent back to our policy committee for further discussion.
So, I think I can just pull that back to the committee.
Just so understanding, you want that removed from the first reading to move forward to second for approval next month.
Yes.
Go back to committee.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 can go forward, but number 5 I'd like pulled and sent back to our committee.
We'll put, it's posted for a first reading. We'll pull it back to the committee. If there are any changes made to the committee, then we'll be back on for a first reading. for
Right.
some reason the policy was remain unchanged, it'll be on for final approval next month.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Yerger, ACTI report.
Okay. What the Adams County Technical Institute started to do is they are publishing a monthly newsletter and report to advise and let all school board directors within the 5 participating districts of what's going on. So everybody has access to this information. What I would like to read is a statement that Al put in the Friday notes that he sent out to the district. The ACTI Joint Operation Committee is currently a contract on 67 acres at 6298 York Road. The asking price was $1.9 million. Our initial offer was $1.5 with a $200,000 donation to the ACTI Unsigned Endowment managed by Adams County Community Foundation. Counter offer of $1.7 million with $200,000 donation to the ACTI Unassigned Endowment was accepted. The contract includes an approximate due diligence period for 7 months that allows time for additional evaluations to ensure the site we want to be considered. So traffic studies, all the due diligence we have to do to make sure that this is going to meet all of our needs. And so every month we're going to be receiving from the admin, and any thoughts, comments, or anything that you want to see different, changed, whatever, please let me know so that I can forward it to JFC. End of report.
Any questions for Mr. Yerger?
When are we actually gonna get projected costs of what all this is gonna cost? Like the building, and then once the building project's done, the cost of running the whole thing?
Good question. So right now, the thought is they want to secure the land, and we have been told for many years that once the land is purchased, grant money, state type of money, different interest groups that are going to want to participate, employers, that want to see the kids go through the program, is going to start flowing in, and those decisions will be made available, and we'll be able to see what we're working with, what is going to be funded through the districts, what's going to be funded through grants and whatever. So once that all materializes, those questions will be more likely to be answered.
All right, there's no PSBA report. Dr. Moyer?
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to say a big thank you to Mr. Yerger as the chair of the JOC with the Career and Technical Institute. We're currently in Adams County, we're turning down, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, well over 100 students that are interested in career and tech fields. And it's about time Adams County gets with it. I'm a little jealous of what's happening in York County, Franklin, and Cumberland. All of them are expanding their programs and so on. So it's exciting that there's a potential land purchase that's in the works. And I'm hopeful and optimistic that a lot of good things will happen as a result of that. We'll see. I want to point out very quickly 7 of our professional staff members here at Littlestown that have gone over and beyond, in my opinion. Last Friday night at the Future Farmers of America meeting, I was really impressed, and several of you board members that were there with me, I appreciate you being there. But I was really impressed with the students and the way that they ran their meeting and all of the accomplishments that they've had this year. That doesn't happen by accident. That doesn't happen with really good advisors helping them and providing the structure along the way. So I want to do a shout out to Jesse Brandt and to Stacy Tall for their efforts in that regard. Likewise, last Wednesday, the FBLA group. And I could say the same things about Scott Staub and Lena Lewis. Am I pronouncing her name right? Lena Lewis. What a great job they've done. And again, for both of those organizations at a school this size, it's just really remarkable about all the things that they've accomplished this past year. and just getting to know and talk to the future leaders of both those organizations, I think we're set up for long-term success. I would also like to thank publicly Mrs. Sarah Pierce and Mr. Spencer Picard. Sarah is a coordinator and a co-advisor of the class of 26. She leads the bullying prevention program at the high school and does a fantastic job with that. Spencer also advises the school newspaper and, again, like I said earlier, a co-class advisor. And then finally, our athletic director, Mr. Jeff Alasakis, the job that he did with our students recently that are heading to college and they're going to be competing in athletics at the collegiate level. I've heard a lot of good feedback, especially from the assistant coach in charge of recruiting at Frederick Community College. What a great job that he did with that. We couldn't be there because I think we were in a meeting at that time, but I just want to recognize those 7 people for going over and beyond. We really appreciate their efforts. Thank you.
Items D through F are noted. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Steve.
Motion on the floor, I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion carries, we are adjourned.
Tom, if you have to advertise, that means you can't vote on June 22nd? You said you might have to advertise, does that mean that's going to delay the June 22nd vote? Huh?
You already have to have a copy of the advertisement. 10 days.
So where are you from?
10 days.
The Times. Oh, you're famous. So you have this front of us.
I usually do sports.
No, I was saying, you said you might have to do
I don't miss this.
advertising. If